What's going on? I am Nando.
And I'm DJ.
And I'm Diggins.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woohoo! Yay, woohoo! Oh, this week, Didis, we've got such a special podcast. That's
top of the morning to all you listeners out there.
Oh, wait, sorry.
We got a...
Yeah, I didn't do it right.
This week I've got a great podcast.
It's going to be a real barn burner. Get your leprechaun hats and your pots of gold and get ready for a real jamming podcast.
Oh, Diggins, you want to weigh in on this one?
I can't really believe this is happening right now. I'm ashamed to be here with my co-hosts and their substandard accents. I apologise to all the people of Ireland.
Listen, if you hurt her, I will find you and I will kill you. That's all I got. That's my one Irish. It's from Taken. It's as Irish as movies get.
So you can only do a Liam Neeson sort of thing then.
Yeah, that's why this movie was so good. Was because it flipped it on its head. It flipped your Irish movie genre on its head. Kid taken, dad saved. From,
instead of a Liam Neeson, you get his polar opposite, which is a Colin Farley.
Yes. Oh, what does he need? Oh, does he need a little treat, that lad? I love him. I love to see it. You love to see it, don't you? Also, like I said, we're not doing our Batman voices. Look, you're supposed to.
I have to object there, Nando. I think you're doing it quite wrong. I think if you want to be an accurate representation, you got to do something like, I'm Josh Gad, and I'm trying to do a Christian Bale voice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Diggins. You're confused. I was doing the Judi Dench accent. The most evil Dark Knight voice in all of history.
That's fair. Judi Dench was doing a fair sight better at that sort of accent than Josh Gad was doing.
And to be fair to all our lovely listeners, I love the Irish people. Oh, I've got you two as far as the eye can see in this here apartment. And I think if I were an Irish person, boy, would I be upset about this movie. It is bad.
Was that Australian there?
You're trying to go
like
Australian now, Nando.
Hey,
I am an Irishman myself, as you can tell by the fact that my name is Diggins. And by Irishman, I mean I'm an American, but my family is Irish.
That's true. I'm half Irish. The other half is Australian, so that explains it. I'm not half Australian. I wish. Not that I like them better than any other, but just it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to be. I like Australia. I love to go to Australia. You know what you can do in Australia? You can surf. You know what you can do in Ireland, apparently? You can surf there, too.
Well, they've got beaches. They are an island.
They are.
The beaches are rather cold, but you can still do it if you really want.
If you're a cool, happening kid, you can surf all your hearts to your heart's content.
Well, it's important, much like a Scooby-Doo movie, that we establish that our hero is into extreme sports.
And extreme wheels. He's cooler than Scooby-Doo.
All kinds of extreme sports. Yeah, you got your surfing, you got your ATVing, everything.
This movie's... so in case anyone's confused, we're talking about Artemis Fowl, a movie you probably already forgot about.
In case anybody didn't read the title of the podcast you're listening to.
That's true.
Every podcast we pretend that the movie we're talking about is some kind of mystery, but we name our podcasts after the movie we're doing.
Well, to be fair, it's possible that they have it on autoplay, they auto-download it, and it goes in a queue, and then another one ends, and you don't know which one this is because you're driving and you don't look. So,
yeah, because what if you're in your car? What if you're at the gym? What if you're at the movies listening to a podcast that this is Michael Caine.
It's so easy, isn't it?
As you can see, neither of my co-hosts are capable of maintaining an Irish accent the way I can.
I just want to say that it's a damn shame that I was on this movie on Michael Caine.
Yeah, why weren't you
I think it's a damn
movie?
shame that you, Englishman Michael Caine, wasn't in a movie set in Ireland.
Right,
no,
but it's a shit movie, so where was he?
That's true, and I mean, it's not like we don't have American Josh Gad and English woman Judi Dench.
And as we know, with Michael Caine, that basically Ireland is just another part of Britain, so it's all the same, right,
well,
chaps?
Them's fighting words,
cup
mate.
of tea, cup of tea, cheerio. How's your mom? And have a fantastic Michael Caine day.
Michael Caine is busy, right, with Tenet. He's going to either save the movie industry or kill everyone on planet Earth. One or two options.
We're not going to the movies, right? Like, that's off the table, right?
Absolutely not. I'll go to a drive-thru.
Cool.
I'd love a drive-thru.
I went to a drive-thru. Yeah.
I don't know where I'd pee, but that's up to the drive-thru people to figure out.
I got an email from AMC. They told me that I could renew my A-list membership at my own convenience whenever I feel comfortable. So I guess never?
Yeah.
I guess I'll never...
Isn't that really what the situation would have been regardless of their intervention?
I suppose. I suppose that is the case.
So they're really just reminding you what the situation is.
Yes, exactly.
And just in case you forgot, we suck, and you can choose to give us money or not. Up to you. Wholly up to you. But, guys, we're talking about a great movie about a book, well, not about a book, but involving a book. Well, not involving a book. I feel like there's probably a book in this movie somewhere. We're talking about Artemis Fowl, a great movie based on a book.
There you go.
Allegedly.
That's what you were looking for.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's funny, Nando, because a large plot point in the first book does, in fact, involve a book.
Is it the Book of Kells, the Irish Book of Magic? Not magic, but like
man.
of legend?
No.
What is it? Can you tell, or is it going to ruin it?
Not really. Basically, the way Artemis knows about all the rules and like what fairy people do is because they all have like a magical book that lays down all of their laws and such. And the beginning of the book is him getting that off of a fairy, and that's how he learns all the rules and why he can stay one step ahead of them all the time.
Oh, so his dad didn't just tell him, give him the cheat codes and be like, hey, when you see a dwarf, you gotta stay away from their butt, man, because if you get near a dwarf butt, game over.
Yeah, it's
game over.
In the book, you may be surprised to learn Artemis actually displays a great amount of intelligence and cunning, and it is his thoughts and actions that drive the plot. Somewhat amazingly.
I have no interest in that. I want a character to go into a room with all the plot in it, and then go, what's the plot room? And then find a secret door using his wits and whatever, and then that's pretty much it. And then he also does some sick karate, bro. We're going to talk about it all because we got to talk about Disney's 2020s, 2019s, but not. It was originally going to come out last year, and then it got bumped. Instead it came straight to Disney Plus. Thank God for Disney. This would be a Wrinkle in Time style flop if I've ever seen one in theaters. Maybe worse, honestly, if this had to be a Disney thing.
Yeah, because it didn't have Oprah.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because this movie's way worse than A Wrinkle in Time.
Probably. I haven't seen Wrinkle in Time, but I can see Wrinkle in Time being, like, fine, where this one is a mess.
I did watch Wrinkle in Time, and I would say that movie's not problem-free, but it is fine, as opposed to this film.
Piece of garbo.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think this would have been a humongous bomb. And I don't know if anyone's done any estimation or there's even any way to estimate that, but I'd be interested to hear what people that know what they're talking about, what they would say about it. Because it went straight to Disney Plus. Disney Plus, much like all of the other, all of the network or streaming services, it's usually pretty tight-lipped on stuff that isn't good news. So I don't know if we'll ever know how many people saw this, but it can't have been that many, and out of that many, it can't have been people that would have bought tickets to it. However, real quick, I want to take a 2-second, since we're talking about streaming services, have any of you guys heard of a streaming service called Netflix?
I believe so. They're the ones where you ask for a DVD of like a certain movie, and then they mail the DVD to your house, and then you can watch it at your house. And then when you're done, you just send the DVD back.
DJ, no. Quickster. Come on,
DJ. No.
Shit.
Netflix is the one that combines all of the programming that's on HBO plus a few other things that their parent company owns.
No, Diggins, this is embarrassing.
And it's really confusing exactly how it's different. But
no, Diggins, you're actually talking about HBO Max go to the polls. I don't know what HBO. I don't know. HBO Plus is also kind of confusing, but God, seems like that should have been what it was called. No, you guys. Netflix, it's a streaming service. You can find all kinds of great entertainment there. For instance, my rec this week, one will be a show called Dark, which you can watch on Netflix as new season's coming out soon. Yeah, Dark's fun. If you like man, we'll talk about it. If you like man, there's at least one in there, 2, 3 even. But no, so this is like, so Netflix is a streaming service. It's got all kinds of stuff on it, content-wise. And recently they added this handy new feature that I've actually used quite a few times, where somewhere between 5 and 6 rows down, beyond like things you're still watching and things suggested for you and whatever blockbuster comedies, there will be a list of the top 10 watched things on Netflix. So like Tiger King, when that came out, it was at the top of Netflix. So it just gives you an idea, hey, this is new, or hey, we just added this and everyone's watching it. It's like Avatar, Last Airbender, the show has been kind of perpetually there, which is nice. Has anyone paid attention to that list recently?
No.
Diggins?
Can't say I have been, no.
Oh, you're going to love this. So, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, when I said that, did I sound like Jeff Goldblum? That's what it sounded like to me. Oh, you're going to love this. It's gonna be, listen to this, guys.
I hear it.
Really
yeah,
terrific.
I hear it.
There's been a movie at the top of this list called 365 Days. Is that ringing a bell to anyone?
No.
It shouldn't, because it doesn't matter. It's some Portuguese movie or something. Like, it's not even, not that those movies don't matter, but
Rude.
like it's shocking that it's number one. It's not famous. It's not based on a book, and it's based on a book, but again, it's not based on I was gonna say Harry Potter, but something like that. That is a national phenomenon, and finally they've made the movie. That's kind of a throwaway romance novel. But it is apparently the closest thing Netflix has ever produced to straight up pornography.
Yeah.
And they made 50 Shades of Grey, but with actual like steamy sex scenes as opposed to like really, tame sex scenes.
Swinging dick and all that stuff.
And the people love it, guys.
It
has been number one on Netflix's most watched list for the last like couple of weeks. It's so funny.
Well, guys, I know what we're doing next week.
You think about it. You think about, like, they made this thing, right? They make this, and I think it's actually Polish. No, it's Italian. I don't know. Whatever. But you think about it, and you're like, they have a top 10 list of everything they're people watching, and you're like, that can't be right. There's no way it's just all these nice movies. People are watching the pornos. But then you're like, well, they don't have any. But in your brain, you're like, the second one shows up, it's going to skyrocket to number one on that list. Because kids have Netflix on their phones and stuff, and their parents don't care. Like, it's just everybody's watching this 365 Days thing. It's the funniest thing to me because it's just so funny. It's so, so funny. Also, the book it's terrible. It is about a guy who kidnaps a woman. And he's like, if you fall in love with me in 365 days, I'll let you leave or something.
Whoa, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Why can't she just be like, oh, you know what? It's worked. I'm in love with you right now.
Right? That's what you would think. I'm sure I butchered it, but it's something to that effect. And he's not even a big giant bear thing with talking candlesticks, so it's not even a little fun. But it's basically that. But just like and I haven't watched it. That's what I know. I turned it on for a second to see like, is there something about it? And then I read about it. But yeah, that is the hot ticket on Netflix these days. So you got 2 options: Artemis Fowl on Disney Plus or stuff like that.
Or go outside, take a walk. That's always an option.
Play it safe, kids, or whoever's listening.
Wear a mask outside, but you could go outside.
Yeah, sure.
Just kidding. Stay inside. Don't fucking go out.
Pull out all your teeth. Just burn your fingerprints off. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Get in one of those bubbles that you can roll around in.
God,
drink a gallon of hand sanitizer.
Don't do any of those things. Well, get in the Zorb if you can find one. I'm going to say, I don't know about the Zorb. It might be fun. Which is the big circle thing that they use in
that
Australia.
one you could do.
Yeah. You know who'd have one of those? Artemis Fowl. He probably got his orb somewhere.
Oh my god. He would be like, this is the way to get the dwarves to do what you want, because see, it's a ball, so they think it's treasure, and then they just listen to you, because they're like, oh my god, talking treasure. I cannot do a fucking Irish accent. Oi, Holly!
That was really not even an attempted one.
I'm not sure what it was.
Oi! Top of the morning.
No, still incorrect.
Oh, get your hands off me, Lucky Charms.
There we go. That's it. That's for a second, because I have the movie playing in the background. I was like, wow, I didn't know I had the movie playing in the foreground too. But it's that was just you. You know, if Artemis Fowl had a Zorb too, he'd like accidentally go off one of the cliffs of, like, because he lives on the whole, you know, on the coast of some fancy cliffy beachy mansion type thingy.
Yeah, because he's rich.
Fowl Manor.
Fowl Manor.
Whatever they want.
It's
what a foul manner it is.
Yeah. More like, guys, more like Artemis Fowl.
Oh my goodness.
Good one.
More like Paul Blartemis Fowl. I'm so sorry. This is going to be a weird one. This movie sucks. Okay. So we're going to talk about Artemis Fowl, Disney's Pixar, or not Pixar's, Disney Plus's Artemis Fowl. It's, I mean, if you've heard about it, it's awful. But we're going to talk about it. Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go over kind of some basic stuff about the book a little bit, like have a discussion there. Then we're going to go to the movie. We're not going to spoil it. There's not a lot to spoil. There's something that seems like it would be a spoiler, but it's never addressed and also doesn't seem all that important. And then there's things
something that seems like it's going to be a spoiler, and then halfway through the movie, they're like, "Oh, it's this."
Yeah,
with no fanfare whatsoever. And then also the fact that that's the answer doesn't matter at all.
So, like, you know, don't worry about being spoiled. This is not a bad movie that is fun to watch, I would say. There are a couple things out of it that are pretty bizarre, and I feel like you could probably find clips of on Twitter or whatever. But besides that, I don't think you can gain that much entertainment from this. Where do you guys fall on that? Do you think this is so bad that it's good?
I think what kills me... No, not at all. I think what kills me is that it's only a 90-minute movie, but you feel every second of it. Like, at the end, I'm like, just end movie, and it's still going on, and it's only 90 minutes.
I lived 2 eternities watching this.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't feel as long as both National Treasure movies combined. That's a problem.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are terrific movies, so it's great. These are... What about you, Diggins? You think this is there any reason anyone should watch this movie?
You can find a screen cap of one bit of really bad CGI with Josh Gad. And you've gotten pretty much everything you need out of this movie after you've seen that screen cap.
I think that's fair. So, yeah, this is Artemis Fowl. It's based off a book, you guys. Who'd believed it?
Not anyone who's read the book.
Yeah. Diggins, you're the only one that's read the book. Right, DJ, you've never read it?
Correct.
I did some Googling, so I'm aware of some of the differences, but not all that many. Diggins, can you pitch me this book? Like, what is the book about? And agnostic, completely separated from the movie, just if you were like, hey, read this book, this is what it is. What is it?
Sure. So I read this book series. Well, I read some of the book series, the first 3 of them, as a child. Quite liked them. I actually probably reread the first couple several times because I was such a fan. I also reread the first one before we did this podcast just to refresh my memory. But quick pitch on the first one. It's about a child criminal mastermind who has, through rigorous research, discovered the existence of fairies who live beneath the earth and has decided to launch a cunning scheme to rob them of some of their fairy gold.
Very good.
That's cool.
And there's a cast of characters. You got who's in it? You got Artemis himself, the titular Artemis.
You have his manservant, a man known only by the name Butler. You have Captain Holly Short, who is the erstwhile victim of his schemes, as well as her commander, Julius Root, who is the main force opposing his schemes, besides Holly herself, of course. Let's see, who else is a major character? Probably the only other major character is Mulch Diggins, criminal dwarf, who
Love it.
Julius Root brings in to try and break up Artemis's scheme.
Is he a giant dwarf in the movie or in the book, or is that just a movie thing because they were lazy?
He's a totally normal dwarf.
That's amazing. Oh my god,
we
that's
couldn't have
amazing.
a main character be a normal dwarf. What is this? A franchise with a movie about 7 dwarves? Get out of here.
Or like any movie from the past. So many fantasy movies all just manage to have they do it. It's been done a million times. So we want our dwarf giganticus guys. That's what the people want. And it's a very popular series of books. There's quite a few of them, right?
8 total.
Oh, wow. Okay. I've heard this kid described in the books or described by people who've read the books as a Hans Gruber type, or that's at least like the pitch for him.
That's the energy he projects. He's very scheming, very much like when all the twists and turns happens. He's like, haha, just as I planned and foresaw. You know, that kind of thing. The book itself was described by its author when it came out as like reverse Die Hard.
Oh wow!
But with fairies, so that's not far off.
I love it. But then what else we got? What's this? This is. Did any of you guys like hear about? When did you guys hear about this book being made into a movie?
Oh man, like when I saw the trailer.
Really?
I'm
yeah.
Like, oh, what's this?
So this has been kicking around for a while. Not this movie itself, but like this is something they've been working on for a very long time. Because it's been it's older too, not like older, but like, you know.
The first book was published in like 2001, I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I read it as a kid, so it had to have been a while ago.
I also hear that there's something to the like. There is a people have compared this to certain book series that shall not be named, in terms of not like tone necessarily, but like it swims in a similar stream to that famous book series. And
it establishes its whole kind of fictional world filled with magical creatures that operates beneath the surface of modern society. In that sense, I think that's a fair comparison. So
yeah, it's a and I've heard I know plenty of people that really like this book series. I personally have never read it, so who knows? Who knows? But I can't say for myself. But seems like fun. And yeah, so I think after the success of the series that shall not be named, people were like, well, what else can we do? This Artemis Fowl thing's kind of like that. It's kind of like how, you know, you got one movie about sexy vampires and then everyone's trying to make one.
So many sexy vampires.
And they really they did their best, and I don't know why, but they kept messing it up. I'm reading this a little bit here, but apparently it was in pre-production in 2003, but then it kind of got kicked into the back burner. Apparently in 2011 it got revived, and according to legend, Saoirse Ronan was attached to play Holly Short. Isn't that interesting?
Ooh, that would have been interesting.
It's an interesting piece of casting. You could probably still get away with that today.
She does still play children around. Holly herself is supposed to be an adult.
84, right?
Yeah, she's 84, which is young by elf standards, but still an adult who lives by herself and has a job.
Yeah. And then Walt Disney got decided they were going to make a movie produced with a certain company that produced movies that also shall not be named for different reasons. Robert De Niro was going to executive produce. Don't think he did in this case. But then in 2015, they hired the director Kenneth Branagh for this, which is just, it blows my mind that he directed this movie.
Yeah, they did.
What's wrong with him? Not like wrong with him, but like what do you think? Do you think he actually thought this was awesome?
No.
Right? Seems like he knows what he's doing.
Thought the money he was being given to do it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate. Apparently they also had someone named Connor McPherson, who was an Irish playwright. Nothing I've heard of. But that person was also working on it. They announced in 2017 that it was, they announced 2017 it was going to be released on August 9th, 2019. It was not. And it was going to be based on the first 2 books in the series, which is not, it's kind of what happened if you really smush them together.
It's mostly the first book. It has some elements from the second book.
Which, to me is insane, right? Why would you do that? Wasn't the one, not problem, but one of the shortcomings with this series that shall not be named, that they ran out of source material and they were like, oh crap, I guess we gotta make some up based on, whatever, random musings of this strange person that we know, and she'll just come up with something. You would figure if you have 8 books, you make 8 movies, you might even make 12 if you can. But
I have a feeling I know why, and I'll get into it more when we're talking more about what happens in the movie, but it's a bad reason.
Is it because kids love aculoses? And it was
that's an entirely a movie invention. That is not from the books at all.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great choice, guys. Great choices all around.
Yeah. So the movie was delayed from 2019 to 2020 for no discernible reason. But it was announced in 2019 that Colin Farrell would play Artemis Fowl 1, the dad. So maybe that wasn't always the plan. That can't be, though. Right? That would be insane. That would legit be insane.
I think the problem that they kept running into when trying to make this movie is that Josh Gad had not yet been invented. Because I think if we look at the end product, it's clear that everyone involved in making this film believed Josh Gad to be the greatest thing that had ever happened to cinema, certainly, perhaps the world even as a whole. And so the lack of a Josh Gad was a huge problem when they were trying to make it.
Yeah.
A problem that has only recently been solved.
What's the solution?
Is that Josh Gad exists.
Put him in it. Oh, okay. I thought you meant as more of a general problem for all movies. What are we supposed to do if we don't have a Josh Gad? And the answer is you get a James Corden. Or, I don't know, someone else. We'll find a new one. Some new person to just wear out their welcome immediately.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the movie's based on the first 2 books. It surprisingly doesn't have a subheading. Isn't that strange?
Right, not Artemis Fowl and the hunt for the Aculos.
Yeah.
Artemis Fowl and the fight against whatever the fucking bitch's name is.
Whoa! Unnecessarily gendered.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The evil elf, whatever nonsense. Excuse me.
So I would say the first book has no subtitle. The second book has a subtitle, but given how they have changed all of the elements they use in the second book, that subtitle would not make any sense.
Yeah.
So perhaps they felt they were written into a corner.
Yeah, and they can't just make one up, like Artemis Fowl and the mysterious whatever or something. The Book of Magic. I don't know.
Imagine Artemis Fowl and the mysterious whatever. That'd be cool.
It's pretty much what we got. Artemis Fowl and the mysterious whatever. I mean, listen, this movie has maybe the worst plot device in the history of plot devices. I really think it's it's a runner-up for the dumbest one I've ever seen. Just because. Do you guys remember how the Oculus is described?
It's I honestly can't.
It's a super powerful weapon.
It's it's described. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I actually have it up now. So I've got it. Hold on a sec. She's gonna explain it.
It's a magic thing that can only be used by magic people. So no normies. You humans, get the hell out. You're not allowed to use it. Yeah.
So, the way it's... I don't know if you... Have you guys seen Dude, Where's My Car?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
do you remember?
What?
Oh, really?
Diggins. Inject some culture into your life, my man.
Yeah, I feel it's actually pretty funny.
I feel like the moment in time may have passed for that one.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I doubt it holds up.
Still give it the old college try. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's bits and pieces that there's some bits that I'm like, those are really good. Everyone will like this. Not everyone will like this, but specifically one bit about it is, in the movie, everyone's after something called the Continuum Transfunctioner. And no one really knows what it is. And it's the 2 main characters played by Sean William Scott and somebody else, I can't remember, are both some people are like, you guys have the continuum transfunctioner, and they're like, what is the continuum transfunctioner? And it's like, oh, it's a very mysterious and powerful device, and its mystery is only eclipsed by its power, or something like that. And eventually kind of learn that no one really knows what it is, but it's there. But that's really what the Oculus is. At one point, it's described as like the most powerful weapon anyone's ever seen. It does magic you wouldn't even believe, guys. Watch out. If better not get it. If the bad guys get it, we're in a lot of trouble because it's so great, the Oculus.
The movie's like, the Oculus has shit you've never even seen.
Yeah, pretty much. It's wild, man, how little anybody knows what the Oculus is.
Having watched the movie, I'm still not entirely sure what it is.
It's kind of like it's kind of like a little magic acorn or something.
Yeah, it's a magic acorn, but it's got gnomish runes on it. I think that's gnomish.
Yes,
and,
gnomish. And it is the fact that it's an acorn is a reference to an extremely important plot point from the book that is not in the movie.
Cool, man. So wait, they made this thing up, but they made it like kind of based on something that already exists? Is that like what I'm understanding?
In the actual book, the extremely important plot point is an actual acorn.
Oh, I see. Okay. Cool, man. What a great movie. Everyone go watch this movie. You know what? I take it back. Earlier we said, shouldn't watch this movie. Watch it so you could hear Dame Judi Dench go, top of the morning.
It's such a, like, it's a line that really should be pretty funny, but it falls so flat because of editing. Specifically, like, it's almost there. It's almost pretty funny, but it's not.
I really have to believe that Kenneth Branagh, who had been infected by the Josh Gad love that was running through the rest of the crew, heard Josh Gad's truly, all pretending down, just utterly incapable of doing a Christian Bale voice. Simply cannot do it. A Christian Bale Batman voice. Like, struggling mightily to reproduce that, and just, like, at all moments, his natural high-pitched voice is struggling to break through. Just heard that and was like, that is so amazing. Judi Dench, you should also do that because Josh Gad is so incredible that, you know, the closer you can be to Josh Gad, the better.
And
yeah, it's pretty hot garbage.
Well, and, like, it's funny because his Batman voice is the first thing you encounter in the movie. For some godforsaken reason, it is the bumper, and, like, it's like, I don't know. It's just, I've never gotten, even with the crappy Airbender movie, which I would say is very similar to this in terms of just, like, boy, they didn't get it.
Well, there's
the parts
him.
They didn't get, they executed poorly.
There's Josh Gad in that scene, and then there's also the unseen MI6 agent, played by a man who has never read this script before and also just woke up.
He's tired of hearing about this darn Artemis Fowl, or he couldn't have more, like, or he couldn't have less, like, interest in, like, whatever's going on. No one seems to, like, certainly know what this is. Or, like, I'm really confused in this world as to what the role fairies play is, or pixies or whatever, but also what role, how curious people are about them. Because this guy's got a magic, dwarf thing, and he just couldn't care less until he does this magic reveal.
Hey guys, fairies and leprechauns are real, and they live in the center of the earth, and they can stop time with temporal fields. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah, they're so happy.
Next.
They're so excited about their weird little time thingies that don't work.
Oh my god.
It is the height of their technology.
You know, the funny thing is, Leprechaun in the, like, one of the main kind of jokes of the setting is Leprechaun stands for Lower Elements Police Recon. Like, leprechauns aren't a thing that exists. They're like a branch of their police force. And it's like, haha, funny jokes. But, I mean, that information is in this movie, but it is delivered to us so poorly that I don't think a casual viewer would even realize that's supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, it says leprechaun, right? And it's like got that word you see once in the...
Yeah, it's an acronym. It's like a visual joke because they never say it, right? So I think it's supposed to mostly be a visual joke, I think.
Also, like, man, what a time. I couldn't be more excited for the main character, like the main sympathetic character of the movie, to just want to be a cop so bad.
Oh my god, so badly wants to be a fucking cop.
Oh my gosh. And even if it's not, it's pretty much that. And also, I don't know, man.
2001 was a different time.
Sure.
I mean, like, honestly, having gone back and read it, I was like, this book's attitudes about cops is maybe not the best thing. But
like, it's fine, not fine, but it's like, yeah, you know, a lot of stuff's like that. It's just funny that came out this week. And
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, it's really awful. This movie's awful. Where do you guys want to start with this one?
Let's start at the end.
Beginning. Oh wow, we said the exact opposite things, huh?
Well, because the movie chooses to start at the end, so shouldn't we also start at the end?
Chronologically at the end.
Yes. So I have a quick question, right? So we're talking about this Josh Gad voice, right? So Josh Gad narrates our movie as the digging dwarf whose name I've already forgotten, right?
Really?
He's like
it's Mulch Diggins.
Mulch Diggins, right? So he's our
thing I have been called before, to be clear. So anyone with your hot Twitter fingers ready to burst that one off, like you're the first one who's ever thought of it, you're not. Sorry.
Oh, you crushed them, Diggins.
Diggums. I got him.
Nailed it.
Did you put the armor here? Great stuff.
So he does this like terrible Christian Bale voice, like, "Let me tell you a story, boys. A story you'll never believe. I'm Olaf." So he tells us the whole story, but he's not there for the whole story. So how the fuck does he know?
In fact, he's there for extremely little of it.
Like, how the fuck does he know about the journal and Artemis Fowl Sr. at all? I'm not even sure that they meet. But it's just weird because he narrates the whole story in a bad Christian Bale Batman voice. Why? Why was this a choice that the movie decided to make?
Because
they
choice.
all loved Josh Gad so much
that he had to narrate our movie poorly.
And I think it's because this movie was edited into oblivion at some point, and they were like, well, we definitely need someone to be like, here's what happens next. And then there were fairies after that, because I can't imagine this came from an amazing script, but I can't imagine that all that bit wasn't like reshot, and there wasn't a lot of like just kind of filling in blanks.
Right.
Because whenever there's that in a movie, especially one that's had a rough production schedule, that's always my first thought. It's like, man, this was band-aiding every plot point together. It's this weird narration.
I mean, that makes sense, but it's like, thinking back on the logic of it, so yeah, not only was Mulch not present for pretty much anything that happens, but also, when we get to the ending, it turns out that it's directly after the events we've seen.
Yep.
And so there was no time for anyone to tell him what happened. There is no way whatsoever that he knows all of the information he is telling us.
I didn't even think of it. Right, yeah. It's that's true. He is abducted immediately. My God, this movie. Maybe dwarves have, and I know this might not be true in the books, Diggins, but hey, this is a movie. This movie could be whatever we want it to be. Maybe in this fucking godforsaken movie, dwarves are omniscient and know everything.
That could be it. That could be it.
So that's what I'm going to go with. Dwarfs are omniscient.
This movie is opens with all this. It's so much introduction to. Like, it's so much like, do you guys remember the beginning of Spider-Man 1? Where he's like, someone told you everything was a happy story. Somebody lied. I live an exciting life. Blah, blah, blah. It's like that like 10 times. About a kid who's not interesting. And like, it's all this buildup that kind of almost makes you, even as someone who's heard that it's bad and has heard that like there's like, it kind of betrays the coolness of Artemis himself. You're still like, well, maybe this is something. Maybe he's gonna say like, and he's killed 50 men, but he's not. He's just like, he's a pretty clever kid, you know. He's a bad kid.
Right.
Don't trust him.
He really doesn't even do anything particularly clever or cunning in this movie. It's just like what?
Diggins, he figures out the journal. Who could have done that? No one could ever figure out the journal.
He figured out that in one of these drawers that are specifically marked as containing all the fairy knowledge, he was able to find a book that had the fairy knowledge.
Yeah. Who does that? Geniuses, that's who. Fucking geniuses, Diggins. Don't besmirch Artemis Fowl. He's a goddamn genius.
Now, I want to be fair. He's not the character that does that. The character that's name is that you can never ever call Butler, but his name is pretty much just Butler. He actually says that to him. He's like, it's like a video game. Artemis goes into the little his dad's like little secret area with all the stuff, and he's like, Artemis, maybe one of these books will help us find your father. And then you have to search through the books, and then you open the book, and he's like, maybe he wrote something for you. Open it to the last page. And then he opens it to the last page and reads, like, we got to make sure they don't get the Aculus or something. And the main guy's like, well, I hope you can find the Aculus because it's very important to the plot. And Artemis is like, oh, I'll do that. So, like, it really doesn't seem like Artemis did any of this on his own. Like, he's not remotely clever.
Yeah.
And his plans, when he does execute plans, are stupid.
I was going to say, theoretically, the way they find the Aculus was his plan the whole time, but it's so bizarre and roundabout that it really doesn't feel, A, smart, or B, like a plan.
Yeah.
It's true. It's not much plan here. It's just a lot of stuff.
Also,
it's a lot of business, and if, like, one thing goes wrong, and if, like... So, like, for instance, if when he takes off his glasses to have the fairy trust him, she's like, hypnotized bitch, like, boom, plan over.
Oh my god, that scene doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Yeah, but also, even if he... Like, there's other parts of the plan that make less sense. It's all based on, like, if he's able to... Like, he needs his... Well, we'll get to it, because the plan is really dumb, but... there's a lot of other stuff we kind of get to first, including...
Sorry, I forget how this whole movie works. Like, let's start with Josh Gad, and it's like, oh yeah, this stuff's all over the place.
Well, real quick, let's start before the beginning. This movie's trailer, I've never seen a trailer like this before, contains almost none of the footage from the movie. If you go and find it, for the first one, there's a completely different scene that's never shown of, like, Artemis and the butler going to check on some, like, magical character that we never see. And, yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, the trailer I remember watching, and I remember thinking, like, okay, so this is not remotely the plot of the book. I don't know why we're doing this, because it's kind of implied that he was deliberately gathering the team together to do a job or something. Like... When it introduced Holly, it was just like, hello, I'm Holly. I'm here to help you. And I was like, oh, okay. And, like, that's kind of where the movie ends up, but it takes the road there that is very much more in line with the book plot, where they are not friends at first.
Yeah. Then at the end, they all stand next to each other, and they're like, we're a team. Just kind of at the end of Justice League, where they line
ready
up and
for the next movie, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, trailer for this movie sucks. Okay, so let's talk about Artemis. Artemis Fowl is the main character. Artemis Fowl Jr., played by some kid who's, like, only from this.
Ferdia Shaw, I think his name is.
Yeah, that sounds right. And
is Disney going to keep him around? They keep that talent pool money train going.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's Ferdia Shaw. He is from, honestly, nothing but this. This is his only acting credit on IMDb. That's bizarre.
Maybe Disney found, like, a hidden gem.
For someone who's supposed to be playing a 12-year-old kid, and I'm guessing he is actually a 12-year-old kid, I guess it's not too crazy that they found someone who has no major credits to his name before now, because if he's literally 12...
Yeah. Oh, wait, sorry. Well... I'm not saying I was wrong necessarily, but so he's not just some no-name though. He is a bunch of
the son of Sebastian Shaw.
Yes. Well, no, but yes. His family's all over Hollywood. He's the grandson of Robert Shaw, who plays Quint, in Jaws. He is the nephew of an actor named Ian Shaw, who is some actor of not an insane amount of renown, it doesn't seem like, but from stuff. And according to his IMDb page, nephew of Donald Sylvester, like a sound editor or something. So he's kind of like, nepotism and stuff, I guess. If you want to kind of explain it, he's just related to a bunch of Hollywood types.
That's cool.
Yeah, and he's probably young. And his IMDb, I don't think says it, but yeah, he can't be more than like 15. What'd you think of Farida Shaw?
I don't like doing the evaluate child actor thing, because maybe it wasn't his fault, but like, damn, son.
He had an unintelligible accent for much of the movie for me. I had to put on subtitles for his character, which I get it. He's Irish probably in real life, and he's got, his character's supposed to be Irish, but I don't know, maybe tone it down a little bit if you want people outside of Ireland to be able to understand it.
I think he would have been good for, like, the cold, calculating, always projecting an air of, like, he's in control Artemis that we get in the first scene.
Uh-huh.
I think he did a pretty decent job of that. But then the rest of the movie is, what if instead he's like a panicky, emotional child who's crying about his dad all the time? And he doesn't seem to be very good at that.
And he's a cool surfer boy who also has a one-wheeler that he rides around in his little palatial estate. I think maybe that's the problem, kind of, is that they didn't get it. Like, they didn't... I think that they had this poor little child playing two roles, one of an Artemis Fowl type and one of, like, the opposite of Artemis Fowl.
And one of generic child protagonist in fantasy movie.
Yeah. I do... One thing that came up as we watched it, there's a part of me that noticed this, but didn't say it to myself, but then the person I was watching it with... There's a bit where he's like looking directly at the main character, the other character, not Root. What's the name of the pixie friend?
Holly?
Holly, yes, Holly. Where they're just kind of like staring at each other and stuff and having like a heart to heart, and he's not really doing too much. But he takes off his glasses so you can see his little eyes. He looks like he might be computer generated. I don't think he is, but he looks like it. DJ, Diggins, you guys have your Disney Pluses open. Go to 53 minutes and 14 seconds, or like the 53-minute
scene
mark.
Is 53 minutes into the movie?
Yeah, it is.
Crap, he does. Damn it.
He doesn't look real. He looks like... Do you guys remember Milo from Xbox? There was... that like weird little tech demo that they pretended was a game, which was a complete lie, where like you walked up to this kid in your Connect and you were like, "Hi, Milo," and he's like, "Hey, you want to go fish?" And then you showed him a drawing and he looked at your reflection and stuff. That's what this kid is. Not to say that he's like weird looking necessarily or anything like that. My guess is they use like... not like CGI, but he looks kind of fake. And maybe it's just like they, got rid of like wrinkles, not like wrinkles, but whatever, some the way there's like apps that smooth your face out and make you look Instagram perfect. It almost seems like this kid was like airbrushed so much that he looks like a fake child. It's really
there's
quite
more machine
to
of him now than man.
It might be, and it's not. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the kid, but it's a thing. And anyone that's watching it, go to the 53-minute mark. There's conversation between the main, like the Artemis and the elf, and I'm not convinced he's real. He seems real. He seems to be a real person, but I'm still not convinced.
I mean, look, we saw with Toy Story how real Pixar made that cat look. It was an incredible cat. I cannot believe it was a cat. Maybe they fucking nailed it with kids now. They could just make them.
Yeah, maybe like that movie that casted CGI reconstruction of James Dean. In their film, they actually invented a child actor at whole cloth,
right?
And have cast him in their film. And this was a test run to see if audiences would accept that.
I mean, he's never been in anything before. I've never seen him in real life. I only believe in things I can see.
Guys, I'm smelling a good conspiracy theory here.
I'm pretty sure this kid doesn't exist, and the only way he can disprove us is to come on this show and exist. And by that, I mean, like, physically come into a room I'm in. Otherwise, I won't believe him. And even then, I'll be a little suspicious. And And you can't do that because of social distancing. So somewhere in the next couple of years, I want this kid to wave at me from close enough that I can tell he's real. I want to be able to throw a rock or like something like light, like a Nerf dart or something. Shoot a Nerf dart at him, and it bounces off of him, and then I'll be like, I was wrong. But unless anything other than that happens, I'm not sure this kid exists.
It's a pretty hard stance, Nando, but I appreciate it. I appreciate your stance on this one.
I mean, like they say, the burden of proof rests on the defense. So, it's up to him to prove it.
Yeah, that's right. It's so fair.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the way that the justice system should operate, and luckily it basically is. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know what the elf justice system is like either. Wait, sorry. I keep saying elf. What are these people exactly?
They are elves.
Okay, so the generic term for everyone who lives underground is fairy. Within that, there are many different kinds of peoples. There are elves, there are sprites, there are pixies, there are dwarves, there are gnomes, there are goblins. But if you just want to refer generically to all the magical creatures, you call them fairies.
Very helpful. Good to know. So, yeah.
Follow-up question. Are there fairies as, like, we know them, like little things with wings, and they're like, yeah, it's a fairy?
My guess is those are
basically
pixies?
The pixies. I mean,
okay,
they're not, like, tiny. They're, like, 2 to 3 feet tall, maybe, but they are, like, little people with wings, yes.
All right, cool. Cool.
Yeah, so the kid's fine.
Fine's a good way to put it.
Everyone else in the movie was somewhere between not fine and, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to judge Holly Short or whatever her name is. Is that her name? Holly? Something
That's
Short?
the character's name, yes. Holly Short.
Yeah. Do you think she was a good representation of that character, Laura McDonnell?
I mean, I think she was basically fine. I didn't have a big problem with her. I didn't have a big problem with her acting. Let me put it that way. I think they made some bizarre choices with the character, but...
What are those?
The whole thing with her dad is weird and doesn't really add anything.
Is that not a book thing?
No, they mention her dad like once, and she's just like, "Oh, my dad died 20 years ago, so that's sad." And then they move on forever.
Wow.
He's never comes up again.
He's not this criminal who betrayed the fairy world by giving the most precious artifact in known magical existence to just some guy.
Yeah, can I just say that? So her like little subplot is she wants to prove her dad didn't betray fairy kind, and at the end they're like, "Oh, your dad was a hero. He didn't betray fairy kind." But the way in which he was a hero is he gave their most powerful weapon to a human, and that human meant to protect it, but he still totally betrayed fairy kind, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And it also like he and like when it's explained, he says that I think Artemis maybe says that he's like, they had to protect it even from themselves. But still, it's like it's barely protected when you really get down to it. There's a really good save, but as we've seen, if under other circumstances, like Mulch just bury it and he'd probably get it. Doesn't seem that hard. Little Artemis didn't even know it was there.
Also, I want to talk about the timing on this. So it's kind of implied that he did this a long time ago, and this is like some ancient stain on the family honor that she wants to make up for.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But also, he did it recently enough that the person he gave it to was Artemis's dad, who considers him a friend. Artemis's dad, who can't be older than, his 40s?
Yeah, I'd say something around there.
We don't know that he's not magic, and I know I sound like I'm joking, but that could totally be a fucking thing.
Yeah, I think this movie could retcon that completely.
It turns out Artemis Fowl Sr. is 110 years old.
Okay, but even then, there's the third point, which is the first time we go underground, they're all like, the Aculos is missing. Like, it just happened.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like on the news. It would be like today in the news, it's like, we found Saddam Hussein. Like, that's like it feels like the equivalent. No. It's weird.
Yeah.
Sure.
You guys get what I'm going for, right?
Yeah, kind of.
I'm not being weird.
It would be like if they were reporting on, if there was a news report on 9/11, like it had just happened. Like, if they were just playing a news report that was like, in other news, 2 planes flew into the Twin Towers. Like
today. If they were doing
today.
that today. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, that is weird. And it's not even just the news is like getting it just then. It's like the fairies also have a meeting in Leprechaun where like the police where Root, I think you said was the name of the character, played by Judi Dench, is like, the Oculus is
Commander
missing.
Root.
We gotta go get it. So like that's something they are just kind of deciding to do now as well.
Or they've been doing it every day for the past 20 to 30 years or something.
Right, and she comes in and every day she gives the same speech. Like maybe she's got like, you know, short-term memory loss and she just wakes up every morning and
maybe she has 51st dates disease.
Yeah, she scrambles all the fairies like, guys, you'll never believe it, but the Oculus is gone. And they're all like, oh, wow, cool. We're going to go check on it. You know, see you later. And then, yeah, maybe it is a 51st date scenario where, like, everyone else is playing along because they don't want to be mean to Root, or, like, you know, they kind of feel responsible. And, yeah, they all put the same news clipping on. Nobody watches it. Everybody's like, yeah, that's the fake one.
Another day goes by.
Yeah, because, the timing doesn't make any sense. Also, the mom, I believe you, like, maybe you said this, or this is something I read, in the books is not dead. She is just kind of temporarily insane. So,
the setup for Artemis's family in the first book is his dad has been missing for 2 years.
Yep.
His mom is alive and around, and, has kind of, like, become reclusive and mentally unstable after the disappearance of his father, and so she's not really acting as a guardian at that time. And then like Butler and his sister are around, and like that's the Fowl Manor household.
Right.
But in this movie they decided, what if he had a dead mom instead?
And it doesn't matter at all. It's like, let's just have him have one less parent because we got to write about another parent. Fuck that.
Well, do you remember what she died from? Is that made explicit in the movie? I can't remember.
I don't think so. He's just like, she was tragically taken from us too young.
Yes, that's right. And the guy who's like, and is that the same guy from like Hot Fuzz or one of those movies? I think I recognize that guy.
Just generic British actor.
Yeah, the guy who's like doing his little psych evaluation. Could be. In my head, it's the guy that's like, got a great big bushy beard, but I don't think it's the same guy.
You always think it's that guy.
He's there. He's everywhere, you guys. We can't trust him. I think that actor's name is Gerard Horan, and no, it does not appear to be him.
That scene, by the way, that opening scene that we're talking about now, where he's like being evaluated by a school psychiatrist, is almost word for word the opening scene of the second book. Like Artemis is in that office. He does the same, like, oh, that chair's a fake thing. The things the psychologist is saying are the same things that he says in the book, until he gets to that line, where in the book that line is basically like, your mother's a lovely woman, but she hasn't been a very effective guardian for you, to, your mother's a lovely woman, and I'm sad that she's dead. And it's like, so that's what we're going with here? All right.
Bro, come on.
Yeah,
it was pretty weak.
I really believed at one point we would meet his mother, or there would be a reveal that a certain character was his mother.
I think everyone who watches this movie thinks that character's going to be his mom.
I'm not convinced it's not. I think if there were 6 or 7 of these, that's who that would end up being. Not because that would make sense or be consistent with the books, just because that's kind of plot twist that you would keep a mother like out of the movie for in a scenario like this one.
But instead we killed his mom just so he can have a more important relationship with his dad.
Who, like, I really didn't like in this. I like Colin Farrell. I think Colin Farrell was fine. But it really felt like he's not supposed to be here, you know? Like, this is supposed to be little Artemis doing all of the mystery solving, and, like, even at the end of the movie, if you know, spoiler alert, if they're reunited, I'm like, but now he's part of the team? Why does Artemis matter? It seems like the dad is Artemis but good. I guess he got caught, but like, I don't know. It seems like the kind of thing where dad could never come back. Otherwise the books aren't fun, but is he back in the books?
In the books, in the second book, he rescues his dad, who is not being kidnapped by anything magical, because Artemis's dad has nothing to do with the magic and knows nothing about it. Of course. Instead kidnapped by the Russian mafia because he is a criminal, because they come from a family of criminals.
Right. And then is the dad present in the future books, or does he get kidnapped every book so he can't solve the day for him or win the day.
I mean, he's around, but like I said, he doesn't know anything about the magic. So when Artemis goes and does magic adventures, he just, gives his parents the slip.
Oh, interesting.
His parents don't know anything about it.
Right. Huh.
It's just Artemis, Butler, and Juliet are the only ones who know.
Juliet.
Butler's sister. In this movie, he's her niece. She's his niece.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that character.
Remember she brings him a sandwich and was like, hey, you need a goddamn sandwich. And Artemis is like, shut the fuck up. I don't need a sandwich.
Well, I understand why you forgot about her, because the movie also did.
Yeah, what the heck?
She swung from that chandelier?
And then Artemis says, go try the phones. And then she vanishes from the film.
That was
maybe
pretty good.
She's secretly the mom somehow or something.
Ooh.
Or maybe she's... Do you think she's the bad guy? Like, she's
Could
not.
be.
But
Oh my
do you think they were
God.
waiting for the surprise reveal? I spent the whole movie being like, which character fits the build of this bad guy? And none of them did. Except for a couple that I'm like, well, this one's in the same room, so it can't be that one. What if it's her?
What if, Nando? What if?
I mean, it would make sense that in this movie you could set up a supervillain with the same, like in that same age range as Artemis, and be like, she's the exact opposite of him, except bad, or like the same as him, in a lot of ways, but also she's evil or whatever.
She's more evil.
Yeah, well, she's evil. She's actually evil. She doesn't have to tell everybody she's a criminal mastermind. But I guess maybe at that point, what's his name would recognize her. Artemis Sr. Okay, we haven't really talked about the movie that much yet specifically, but I do want to take a quick break, and then maybe we talk about the movie.
Yeah, we should do some IMDb summaries.
Oh, I can't wait. Don't
yeah.
cheat, you guys. I forgot about that.
Nope. I know you did. I won't cheat.
All right, we'll take a tiny break, and we will be right back. All right, let's talk about this movie. What?
IMDb
Yeah,
summaries.
let's do the
I did
IMDb
not cheat.
plot summary. Guys.
All right.
I'm gonna, as we always do on this show, and as I am not Googling right now, even though I have probably, I'm sure I have this open on another tab. Artemis Fowl, 2020's Artemis Fowl has an IMDb summary. Let's see what it is. Let's start with Diggins. What do you think the IMDb summary for 2020's Artemis Fowl is?
12-year-old criminal mastermind Artemis Fowl discovers there's a whole world of fairies beneath his feet and has to exploit them to rescue his kidnapped father.
DJ?
After learning about the mystical underworld, Artemis Fowl must team up with some unlikely allies to rescue his father and find a magical artifact.
Damn, you can never go wrong with unlikely allies in one of these.
All right. I've just marked this date. This is the closest any of you have ever gotten, one of you.
Oh, wow.
To actually getting it right. I think
So,
with a little
exactly
bit of
correct.
Yeah, no one's ever been closer than one of you was just now.
Ooh.
I feel like it's probably DJ because he said unlikely allies.
Here's the actual IMDb summary. Artemis Fowl, a young criminal prodigy, hunts down a secret society of fairies in order to find his missing father. So Diggins, out of order, but so close.
Wow.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
You even got the young criminal prodigy bit or something. You had something to that effect, which like is the big lie of this IMDb summary. He's not a young criminal prodigy.
I figured that the IMDb summary would mention it because it's something that's supposed to be true about this movie but isn't.
Right, yeah, exactly. And, yeah, man, this movie's... So, yeah, it's kind of about that. It takes a while for it to get there, though. It's mostly about... I don't know. What is this movie about?
It's not even like a coming of age thing because Artemis Fowl is the exact same at the beginning and end of this movie. Like he did a thing that he knew he could do. There was never any doubt that he would do the thing he set out to do. So, fuck if I know, dog.
It's a story about a boy waiting for someone else to find something so he can then have someone else use it to save his dad.
And everything goes exactly according to plan, no problems. Fucking killed it.
Yeah.
There's one problem. Exactly one.
The big monster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. But besides that, flawless.
So, yeah, Artemis Fowl, I would say this character sucks. All the characters suck, but Artemis Fowl sucks the most. Not the kid's
Who
fault.
sucks the least?
Probably the little fairy girl.
Yeah,
Her name is.
Holly's character is other than. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I mean, there's only 5 characters that I would say have characters, kind of, or like are anything. I would say Butler is not. He's one that I'm like, he's not really. Just he really does feel like a video game tutorial guy. It's like,
right.
Yeah, use the boost to get through, Artemis. It's weird. He's great.
It just feels like they really kind of reversed Artemis and Butler's dynamic, because part of what's fun about Artemis and Butler is that Butler is a grown man who's like 7 feet tall and super ripped and can destroy anyone. But he's also extremely loyal to Artemis and thinks he's a genius and like will do whatever Artemis tells him, because he trusts him implicitly. So it's like kind of funny. You have this small child who has a big buff bodyguard with him, and you would expect the bodyguard to call in the shots, but no, he's totally subservient to the child and fine with it. But in this one, Butler is like his guardian and is like telling him all the things, and is like telling him what to do all the time. And it makes sense because he's an adult and Artemis is a child, but it reverses what is fun about that dynamic.
Yeah.
Right.
I think also if his character had more edge, he might be a little bit more interesting. Like seemed like a loose cannon a little bit. Well, because him and Artemis are essentially the same guy.
Butler he's basically like your standard like Bond villain henchman, where he's very tall, very imposing, doesn't say much, but, is very threatening. He's not like... And he cares, in the world of the books, he does, like, care about Artemis and his sister and has something of a conscience, but also they, like, talk constantly about all the big crimes he's done in his life. So, he's, like, a scary guy. And in this one, he's just kind of a dude.
Yeah, he's just, like, he's around. He's nice. They're both kind of quiet. Not like quiet, but they're both just like kind of there, It's like they stand together and they're like, this is going to be tough. And, yep, all right. I guess we got to go do it.
There's no, like, interesting thing there where you have, I don't know, I'm just kind of like pulling a example out of thin air, but like a Batman and Alfred thing where Alfred's like, Master Wayne, isn't this ridiculous? And it's like, oh, it's fun. He's Alfred, you don't understand a thing of what's going on. Whereas, with this, it's just like, it's literally like these two guys are there, and it's like, well, this is not fun at all.
And it's like, so jumping ahead a little bit to complain more about Butler in this movie.
Let's complain more.
So there's a scene later on where the fairies first arrive at Fowl Manor, and they like attack, and Artemis and Butler fight and like destroy them. So in the book... I don't want to keep saying in the book because I don't care if adaptations change things generally. I just want to bring it up because I feel the book does the scene in a way that conveys what this scene in the movie is perhaps trying to convey, but does it way better.
Right.
So in the book, you have this elite leprechaun strike force that is like going in to try to rescue Holly, and they're like not that concerned. They're like, they're just a bunch of humans. We're going to be fine. And then Butler like steps into the middle of them and like destroys them, like completely wrecks their shit. And that's like the moment when the fairies realize, oh, maybe we've got more on our hands here than we thought. But the fact that Artemis joins him for this fight doesn't make it seem, so when they win, it doesn't seem like, oh wow, Butler's like super tough and competent and, is a huge problem for the fairies. It's like, wow, these fairies suck. They can't beat up a child.
Yeah. He's like, that fight is, I know, like, it's a podcast talking about a movie, so we're bound to sound a little hyperbolic from time to time. I legitimately think, with all honesty, that may be one of the worst fight scenes I've ever seen. It was hideous. There was a shot in it that I think would kill a person. Like, I think if people saw this movie in theaters, this would kill someone. And it's the one where the camera tumbles down a flight of stairs.
Yes!
It made me
oh my god.
so, like, upset.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It's awful. Like, and it's the movie's very proud of it. It's like this cool. Wow, we're gonna really show off all of our cool CGI.
We're gonna shoot a bow at the thing. Oh, can I say a quick side note about Butler?
Sure.
So one thing about Butler is, so he has blue eyes, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But they're not. Michelle brought up this point when we were watching it, and I think it's a good point. We have advanced like CGI technology and de-aging technology to like an incredible point, but we cannot get fake contacts to not look like fake contacts. They always look like fake contacts.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm like, oh shit, look at those fake contacts. Does he have blue eyes in the book, Diggins? Is that like a really important thing about him?
I don't think they ever mention his eye color.
Well, then what the fuck, movie? What's your point? What? I thought he was going to... I'm not fucking with you guys. I thought he was going to shoot lasers out of them at some point. Because I'm like, why are they blue?
Well,
That's a problem.
In a reveal, did I mention this already about his name in the book versus the movie?
No, we haven't talked about it on the pod.
Yeah, I didn't think we talked.
Yeah, that was
I didn't
before
mention
the
it on
show,
the pod.
yeah.
I don't think. So this really demonstrates the care and attention they take towards the canon. Which is that in the movie, if you watched it, you recall that when Mulch's bad narration introduces Butler, what he says is, the man's name is Domovoy, but... I'm sorry, I'm doing this wrong. The man's name is Domovoy Butler! But never, ever call him the Butler! Be like, he hates being called the Butler. Never call him that, ever. He will fly into a rage if you do. A, this never comes up again.
Yep.
No one ever calls him the Butler. B, the character in the book is named Domovoy Butler. That is true. He is never called anything by anyone in the series, including his sister Juliet, anything other than Butler. And
Fucking movie.
what I'm saying here is, like, again, I don't care if you change things, but that is such a pointless and almost spiteful change that it feels like you're deliberately trying to, like, annoy fans.
Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's so weird. I can't get over this fight scene. I just watched it like 10 times and like frame by frame, which is hard on Disney Plus. So I'm like doing like play pause because it wants to be like a cool one shot fight scene for a second. But like what it does is whenever, because it's like kind of a tracking shot, not really though, of like a bunch of fairies are flying around while Artemis and Butler are fighting those fairies, but they're like doing it one by one, like a Jackie Chan movie. And the fairies will dive in, but then when a fairy flies by camera, the shot will change slightly as, you know, a cheap way to kind of hide it. The fact that A, everything that's happening is CGI, and then B, that actors have to, like, you know, switch out with stunt doubles and whatever. There's so many shots where characters, like, teleport. Like, it's just ugly, lazy. Oh, it's so bad. And you know what? To be fair to the movie, and you'd never recognize it, there's a half second where it seems like the movie's going to be not, like, cool about it, but, like, what you were saying, where Butler should be, like, a big, you know, presence, and it's like, oh, this guy's cool and tough, and we can't beat him up, even though we're a bunch of weird little fairies who stink. As the fight starts and Butler, like, gets ready to start shooting them all, Artemis, like, crosses his arms and just stands there. And if he did that the whole fight, it might work a little bit more. Seeing just Butler, you know, crush all these guys, and Artemis is just there, like, man, I don't know. But Butler or Artemis joins in and like takes one of the guns and throwing fairies around. It's so damn.
That's what I'm saying.
Stupid.
Artemis shouldn't be involved in this scene because its purpose is to A, establish that the fairies are in over their heads, and like, you know, Artemis and Butler are more than a match for them. But B, to establish that Butler's a huge badass. And you undermine both of those things by including Artemis, because you make the fairies look like idiots, and Butler doesn't get to look cool because he's beating up people who look like idiots.
Yeah. The fairies very frequently, like, bump into each other, too. Like, it's not even just they're, like, getting kicked by Artemis. It's like colliding midair.
Also, don't these dudes have guns? Like, why weren't they just shooting their guns at them the whole time?
So they are, and you could write a book about this fight scene. So Artemis and Butler have a gun to start, which they pull out. And listen,
okay,
the movie's bad. We're gonna skip a bunch of things. We'll start talking about other bits of it, but this is the part of it that fascinates me. So Butler, so these are fairies, right? We don't know anything about the physiology of them. I would assume if Butler pulled out a shotgun, he would be relatively as effective, right? Like, I don't know if a fairy needs to be killed by a fairy weapon or whatever. But Artemis and Butler walk out. They just stand there. Root is like, "What's thy planning?" And then Butler spins around to reveal one of the guns, which I guess he got from Short. And the fairies are like, "He's got one of the guns!" And then he makes a shield with the gun, which you apparently can do. But then, he tosses the gun to Artemis, and Artemis is, shooting fairies out of the sky. And it's funny because they are also shooting at him, and, lots of them, all at once. And, there's a hail of bullets, and none of them hit. It's not even close. It's not like they're using the shield in a really specific, cool way. They're just missing every single shot. And Artemis is standing still, and they're flying around. And they're able to hit them. Artemis and Butler are able to hit the fairies, but the fairies are not able to hit the stationary dudes.
So, again, I guess, just to emphasize the ways in which this scene works in the book in ways that it does not in the movie, the reason this goes down the way it does there, which is Butler does beat them all up hand to hand, even though they have fairy guns. Because in the book, fairies can turn invisible. It's like one of their magic powers. Because they do actually have magic, not just technology. But immediately before Butler goes outside, Artemis is like, yes, I read about this. Let me quickly rig up a way for you to be able to see them. So it demonstrates that Artemis is very intelligent, that he has planned this out well, and that he develops a countermeasure. And he gives Butler some goggles that when the fairies are invisible, he can see them. So Butler, strolls out while the team is approaching, and they assume that he can't see them until he's, walks into the middle of them, and then is surprise fuckers, and beats the shit out of them. So that's why that all happens. Fun. And so, yeah, you A, demonstrate that Artemis is intelligent, B, demonstrate that Butler is a badass, and C, demonstrate how the fairies are ready for neither of them.
Man, that would have been great, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Hey, quick question.
Yep.
So, the reason this big fight scene's happening, by the way, I don't know if we fully established it, but, Artemis captures one fairy, Holly, who they teams up with, and the fairies are like, nah, can't take that line down, so then they, invasion. So they go to Artemis Manor, Fowl Manor, and they go invade. Now, they have these things, these little, capsule discs, whatever, that they throw up, and they could make, a time dome where just time stops inside this dome. And we see it earlier. They just give an example of it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. How come Artemis and, all the good guys, Butler and all of them, can move inside the time whatever? Why are they not?
So they don't explain it well in the movie. The way it works is it freezes a pocket of the world at the moment in time that things were when it froze that way. So it's not that everything in it is supposed to freeze, which is sort of how they do things in the first scene where they use it, which adds to the confusion. It's that everything inside it is stuck at that exact moment in time that the bubble went up. And, people who go there in between, then and, say, 8 hours later, if that's how long the bubble's up, just nobody's there. Because they're still at that moment in time. They're still, moving and going around and can act as normal, but they're stuck in that moment in time.
Wait, so they're freezing the world around them?
The reason they do this is twofold. One, in the book, fairies hate sunlight and it weakens their magic. So they want to freeze time before the sun comes up. This does not appear to be a plot point anymore, which makes the time stop kind of irrelevant. B, their main number one concern and why they're going all out to rescue Holly is that they absolutely 100% don't want any humans to find out about the fairy world. It's very important to them to keep this secret. And so they want to isolate this like little area where people seem to know about fairies so they can take care of the problem before anyone else finds out.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah, that was not explained well at all.
I agree. It wasn't.
Because in the Italy scene, everything's just like everything stops. It's like
in the Italy scene, everything that's not a fairy just freezes. But that's not how it works. I'm not even just saying like that's not how it works in the book. It's not how it works later in the movie.
Oh my god, this movie's so bad.
All right, what else is bad about this movie? Let's get some other things. Let's talk about mulch. Mulch Diggins.
Oh, no.
DJ,
no.
Explain mulch to me. You love
All
him.
right.
Listen, he's approximately 60% of the movie, so we have to talk about it.
That's true. So, Mulch Diggins is a giant dwarf, and so in this universe, and really most fantasy settings, dwarves love treasure. They love it so goddamn much. But they dig real well, right? So he's a giant dwarf who loves treasure, but he does crime, so he gets thrown in jail. Now, he's all over this fucking movie. He's being interrogated by MI6. He then, or I guess that's at the end of the movie. At one point,
and also the beginning.
Yeah.
True. And the beginning.
And technically throughout the whole thing, because that's the narration.
Oh, God, I hate it so much. And then at some point, he's recruited by the elves, the leprechaun police, as it were, to basically help break into Fowl Manor and get Holly out, right? He's not actually supposed to get the Aculos, if I recall.
They don't even know the Aculus is there.
Yeah.
Right,
He's just there to rescue Holly.
Because Artemis Fowl has completely outsmarted the elves. So he's totally duped them. So he treats with them, and then the Commander one, Judi Dench, is like, all right, Artemis Fowl, and then she goes to her people, get me Mulch Diggins. He's the only one who we can get for this job, apparently, for whatever goddamn reason. So he agrees, because it takes some years off of his prison sentence. So this is fun, right? So he breaks into Fowl Manor. And guys, you'll never guess how he does this.
How?
He unhinges his jaw in some comically bad CGI, and then goes, it's time to get digging! I don't know if he actually does that, but I like to imagine that he does. And then he just starts chewing through the dirt while he poops it out on the other end. Because this movie's a nightmare.
Yeah, I had to watch that twice because I wasn't sure I actually saw it.
Now, I would love to say the movie made that up, but I cannot.
Oh, man.
That's straight out of the books, baby.
Why keep that source material? Of all the things to keep, they're like, oh, this shit's gold. We gotta keep this.
Yeah, Artemis Fowl series dwarves are great tunnelers because they unhinge their jaws like snakes, eat their way through the dirt, and then poop out everything that's not a valuable mineral for their tummies instantly.
I can't believe that happens in that movie. And one of the elves got covered in, or one of the fairies got like covered in his dirt poop. It's really terrifying. Also, he's really bad at it. Like, his tunneling is like maybe a foot below the ground. You see it at one point, like ripping up steps above it, and you're like, "Wait, what?" He's supposed
to be like one of the best tunnelers, which is why they go for him, even though he's a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he seems really bad at it in this movie.
Yeah. And then he just kind of bumps into the Aculos, right?
He's like, oh, it's a vault. I have to go in because I love treasure. We've established that about my character. So.
And then he does this also really weird scene where he like makes out with the safe and his nose hairs open it for him. That was
his
upsetting.
beard and all of his hair, anything basically that comes from a hair follicle turns into a lockpick. It is insane.
Now that is sort of from the books, but not really.
It's just a weird placement, like, because
so the thing where he can pluck out one of his hairs and it goes really stiff and he can use it as a lockpick, that's from the book. The thing where all his hair becomes prehensile and he can use it to like manipulate all the different tumblers at once, that is made up for the movie. That never happens.
So apparently this was part of Artemis's plan because he knew it was in this safe. Now, we don't learn about this safe. We don't know how,
So, okay, I think to defend the movie a little bit, his plan was, I know my dad has the Aculos, but I don't know where, so I'm going to stage this whole elaborate kidnapping plot so they eventually send in a dwarf, because when the dwarf gets here, his treasure senses will just go wild, and he will find the Aculos for me.
And then he will steal it and run away with it, because that's what dwarves do.
No, shut up.
Right. Right. Anyway. That is not what happens. The dwarf is so friendly. He's like, oh, I know this is the most powerful artifact in all of, fairy kind, but yeah, I'm going to give it over to you, pal. No worries.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
We reach a certain point in this movie where all the main characters decide, oh, we're supposed to be friends now. And then they
we
just
gotta set
are.
up this franchise. We gotta...
Like, they don't care about anything anyone has done up until that point. It's just like, we're supposed to be friends now, so we are. And
I said so, goddammit.
Literally, there's a scene between Artemis and Holly when he has still kidnapped her and is keeping her in a cage where they're like talking and he's doing the taunting villain thing. And then halfway through it, she's just like, but we're friends now. And he's like, how can I trust you to be friend? And she's like, you'll just have to trust me. And then he takes off the sunglasses that protects him from being mind controlled by her and is like, yes, we are friends now. That is where the movie has gone.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Like, that's the only explanation we ever get for why they're friends.
The movie demanded it. Look, sometimes when the movie demands things, you just do what movie demands. Them's the breaks, or rules, or whatever. I don't know, man. This movie was a lot of garbage.
Remember how one of the things in it, there's a centaur guy who
Oh my
is
God.
on like some sort of magic like treadmill thingy that does all his science for him, and
He's
seems
the
like
tech
it's always
nerd.
getting in his way.
Now, Foley the
only-
Centaur being the tech nerd, he's a real character, and he owns.
Sure he does.
So, I will say, there was one line that actually got a laugh out of me in this movie. So at one point, Mulch Diggins goes, to him, it's like, hey, who are your parents? And, I found it funny because that implies that there aren't centaurs. He's the only one. Right? Isn't that what the movie's saying? He's the only centaur, and he had some fucked up parents, apparently. Or Mulch Diggins is a huge moron, and I'm giving the movie way too much credit.
I mean, I feel like what happened here is because everyone on the crew loved Josh Gad so much, they let him just come up with a million different singers that they put in the movie.
God.
Way more than is necessary, because Mulch Diggins has so many zingers.
Oh, yeah.
And they just didn't care if those zingers made sense with the world of the movie or not.
Yeah, one of his singers is that David Bowie was a fairy. That's annoying. I hate that. I never want to. I'm so tired of this. What was it in
Venture Brothers?
No. Venture Brothers is great. No. Superman, Justice League. At one point, after David Bowie has died, the newspaper is a picture of David Bowie, Prince, and Superman. And it's did they all go back to their home planet or something like that? I don't know. It's awful.
Or the scene in Men in Black International where they show all the screens of people who are aliens, and Tessa Thompson is like, that makes sense.
Yeah, we get it, guys. David Bowie's interesting. He's strange. It's just
What if he were an alien?
such an old hat little joke.
But, so, I don't know. It just feels like this movie is terrified to actually make Artemis a criminal mastermind or a villain in any way. So they have to immediately back off any suggestion that he has ever done anything bad.
Yeah.
But he was so mean to that psychiatrist. And I mean, I guess in retrospect it just comes off as angsty, but he's not even angsty in other parts of the movie. So what the fuck? It's so inconsistent.
Well, again, that's the only extended piece of dialogue that is literally just the scene in the book, word for word.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wish, why is it there? It doesn't show anything about his character. Because they didn't go with the criminal
should show something about his character. The problem is that they make his character completely different. It's an establishing character moment for a character that they then changed entirely.
By the way, there was a line. So fucking Mulch Diggins is giving us the dossier on Artemis Fowl verbally, and there's a whole thing, like, it's basically Tony Stark's bio, but subtract, like...
Yeah, he did a bunch of badass shit at way too young an age.
But one of them was he beat some kind of Grand Chess Master in 5 moves. I don't know a ton of... Okay, whatever. I don't know a ton about chess. How the fuck do you beat someone in 6 moves?
Now, it is possible. It is possible to beat someone in chess in very few moves. However, the other person would have to be playing so badly that they're basically letting you do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So, was this Grand Chess Master very bad? Who's to say?
Also, he cloned a goat. Interesting.
Yeah, he did.
We didn't see the goat. I kind of expected the goat to show up at some point, or like goats to be the enemies of fairies, but no.
He just cloned a goat. No follow-up.
Yeah.
See that fucking goat? I'd clone that shit.
What else? Judi Dench is in this movie. She is terrible.
Dude, okay, I have a question. What curse was bestowed upon her? How? Cats and then this? What happened?
I have a theory.
Okay, let's go.
My theory is that Dame Judi Dench, secretly, she's been able to keep this quiet all these years, has a crippling addiction to gambling on Mahjong. And because of this, is chronically short on funds all the time, and therefore needs to take any high-paying job that is offered to her so she can keep ahead of her creditors and avoid, being disappeared one day by, some loan sharks.
That's an incredible accusation.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah. If I were her and this came to my desk, I don't know. See, that's the problem. Same with cats. There's so much CGI, even though all the practical stuff also looks like trash. But... like, I hated the design of all the fairies. It looked so 2000s-y. Like, I thought we had gotten better, not even at CGI, but just, like, less plasticness. But she got, like, I could see maybe a good version of the script passing your desk and going, like, yeah, okay. Maybe being like, hey, maybe I passed on a Lord of the Rings role or a Harry Potter role at some point in my life, and I want to be part of one of these eventually. This is kind of one of them. I'll do that. But I just don't see a version of this movie seeing everything we've seen where it was better in the edit or like the original script, like fixed everything.
Right.
So I really don't. I don't get it.
Oh God, release the Branagh cut. Is that what
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I like Kenneth Branagh. He's good. His Thor stuff is fine, and his Shakespeare stuff's pretty good. Like
that's
Henry V
sure.
is great. I don't understand. I don't know. I mean, this is not the same thing as those, but I can see them. I mean, this Thor one is okay, but it's a very different animal.
Do you think when James Corden made that contract that he has to be in, like, every other movie or whatever, that, like, he also cursed Dame Judi Dench for maybe some past transgression that we were unaware of?
They are both British.
I suppose it's possible.
They probably have a relationship.
Josh Gad, who followed the James Corden model and has created this cursed contract with the studios... maybe as one of his clauses, he capriciously and cruelly forced them to cast her in roles like Cats and Artemis Fowl.
Yeah, they should fix that. Like, I feel for her. She seems cool.
Or maybe James Corden and Josh Gad teamed up on this because James Corden was in Cats and Josh Gad is in Artemis Fowl. The pieces are all there.
Yeah. Oh, shit, you're right. Oof, these pieces fit together way too well, Diggins. We gotta get to the bottom of this. I just feel bad because at one point it was sad because she's there. She's a very decorated actress. She's an amazing actress. She's very good at what she does. And she's sitting there in that stupid elf armor, and I'm like, oh my God, this hurts to watch.
Sitting in that stupid elf armor going, oh, okay, little boy, let's negotiate.
No.
And, like, on top of that, right, so Colin Farrell, you can say a lot of similar things about Colin Farrell. Like, very good actor, very good this, yada, 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 yada. But, like, he spends the entire movie basically chained to a desk.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole movie. He's just chained up and he can't do shit. And that's his whole fucking arc. And, like, fine, whatever. But, like, she is prominently in this goddamn movie. No rest. Like, she's in it, man.
Yeah, she had to get that awful haircut. And, like, all the, Colin Farrell got to show up in a suit, do a scene, leave, and then, like, do another scene. But, like, he probably did them both on the same day. And he was done. She really had to get it. Like, she committed.
Colin Farrell got out of this project with his dignity intact.
Yeah, I'm honestly
Judi
proud
Dench
of him.
Yeah.
went through the ringer.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, the
I feel
fairies, I really did not like their designs. What do you think is the worst character design in this movie? Just kidding. It's the Goblins. They were bizarre.
Whatever.
Boy.
Remember that?
Honestly, it wasn't the worst take on Goblins I've ever seen.
So here's my thing about the Goblins in this movie. So the Goblins in the books are already a little problematic in that they're kind of treated as, like, as a rule, as creatures being very dumb and also kind of evil.
Right.
And that's, like, kind of gross when you think about it. But they're not, like, coded as anything. They're, like, these weird reptilian creatures that are just, like, this, evil dudes in fairy society. And it's kind of weird and not great, but there's no obvious parallel going on.
Right.
In this movie, they've decided that all the goblins wear gold chains and other stereotypical finery that one might associate with... Have you guys ever watched a film called Bright?
I have watched Bright.
Yes.
They basically designed these goblins using the Bright school of orc character design,
Yeah.
which calls together many deeply unfortunate associations.
But the weird... What did you say, TJ?
I just do not remember this. I don't know if I blocked it out of my head,
right?
but
I'm looking at the goblins right now on my TV, and
Yeah.
they're all,
Give me a timestamp.
they're all wearing gold chains.
Give
Some
me a
of them
timestamp.
have gold, like, grills on their teeth.
It's
Give me
the
a
scene
timestamp.
where they just get arraigned. It's not, or like they're brought to prison, but it's not when they're in prison.
Even in the prison, I am
I
looking
see.
at. I'm looking
Right.
they have
at
hoodies. Damn it.
Yeah,
But-
hoodies, chains. Even in the prison at 51, they all still have their gold chains.
Well, here's the thing about it. I really
Damn
don't
it, movie.
understand. Let's say that's what someone was going for. I guess like costume design, hair and makeup. I don't know. Or like, the department that does the like the general character design. So if you are going to code that character that way, you would kind of imagine you would get the actor that would fit that coding as well. But instead, they all have British gangster voices, like a Guy Ritchie movie. Like, it doesn't... That part of it was really confusing to me, because it's like, it's not even... It almost felt like it wasn't... Not like it wasn't supposed to be a one-to-one, because, yeah, that's everything what they did. But also, someone at some point didn't get the memo, and they did the wrong, like, casting for gangster, and they accidentally got, those Jason Stathams. Oi, you gonna give me all the Jews, mate? Like, it's so weird. Loved it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's like no runway for this movie to like have anything good. It's also like it is weird that like you would code the goblins as any kind of like real world thing, because they don't stereotype any of the other fake races like that.
Yeah,
so
that's
like
correct.
why only do it with this one? It's not like I don't know.
Why only do it with the race that the only versions of which we see in the movie are threatening criminals?
Yes,
But,
exactly.
yeah, and like all the rest of them, it is weird. It like when you look at it, because there's so there's like 6 or 7 races we actually see. Well, I don't know. Let's say 5. All right, so you got Mulch Diggins. He dresses like a fantasy character, slightly updated. You have all the pixies.
He's Hagrid.
Yeah,
He's
he's Hagrid. You have the pixies, and they have their like weird plastic armor and stuff, and it's all green, and they all look like they're from Captain Marvel, but bad. They look like it's the Power Rangers reboot, but Captain Marvel. Then you have the big troll dude who's bad, who like is like just a big monster, and I want to say he also wears kind of like Harry Pottery kind of clothes, like
Yeah, definitely.
and then. Yeah, and I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting. And then you got these guys who wear people clothes, like contemporary clothing. And it's a weird choice, because it's like, well, where did they get it? Why did they even dress? Why are, like, I don't know. It's just, and it's something like that really pisses me off from besides all the other reasons. It's a really poorly built world for a movie where it's like, and the fun part of it is, it's just like our normal world, but also there's fun, exciting things lurking beneath, and it's like, none of them are exciting, and the world doesn't make sense, and no one would want to live there, and it's like, say what you will about the series that shall not be named, although I did already name it, but whatever. They, pretty solid world design, so that you, like, thought it was something that was real and fun. Whereas this, it's just a bunch of nonsense all together to fill, like, kind of check all the boxes, but there's no cohesion, and it's bad.
Don't forget also that this movie desperately wants to be a franchise.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean,
badly.
okay, so yeah, we got to talk about that. Let's talk about we already kind of got at this character, but there is a villain. What's
Is
the deal
there?
with? I don't know. Like,
There's not a villain?
yeah.
So Artemis's dad gets kidnapped, which we've alluded to. We don't really see how,
Yeah.
but it does happen. And his kidnapper is initially introduced to us as a mysterious, likely magical creature. I think you can see she has wings. But like her face is always kept in shadow. She speaks with like a kind of like a computer garbled voice. Almost.
Yes.
Oh, hello there. Are you ready to play my game?
Did I get it?
Like
Did
there's
I
not
fucking nail it.
something like that. Yeah, which is weird because she is just speaking out loud
Right.
with the
Right.
aid of no device. So I guess that's just how she talks. But
Yeah.
it sounds like she's the villain who never gets named in Hobbs and Shaw,
Yes.
where they like do everything to hide her identity because they didn't actually have a villain and they just want to tease the next movie.
Even though if you listen, it's definitely Ryan Reynolds. But go on. If you're listening for it, it really sounds like Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. She has like, it sounds like a Power Rangers voice. How they're like, we got to put it through a voice
Ooh, that's a
modulator to
good
make
one.
it sound scary, even though like canonically the character wouldn't have a voice modulator, but it's like,
Oh, Artemis Fowl, you've come to my trap.
but also this character has a green phone or some sort of green technology.
I love it.
Which we
I
know
love it
is
so
somehow
much.
related to the Pixies and Leprechaun and all that. Not like we know is, but just like we really only see them wearing green, and you're like, I guess she's one of them. There's also some sort of, what are the Inquisitors, or what was the name of the executive class?
Oh, God. The Executors. I actually think it was
Yeah, it
Executors.
might have been
The
Executors.
executive committee.
What's that?
So this really doesn't get expanded upon much, even in the books, but they're basically kind of like the ruling body of fairy world.
Uh-huh.
They're like some kind of committee. I'm not sure. Like, I guess they're elected. But yeah, it's a political position. Like, they're the people in charge.
Gotcha.
And like that's why they get to order Leprechaun.
Right.
Cool.
So yeah, there's this whole like mystery about this character, and you're kind of wondering, as I was during the movie, like who is, because we're using a voice modulator, kind of, or at least seems like this character is.
And we're keeping her face in shadow. We never get a good look at her face.
So it must be a character in the movie. Which character could it possibly be? And for a while, I hadn't seen her, and then there's like a little big gap, and I thought it might be Judi Dench because I was like, well, they kind of both have weird voices, and also, I don't know, she seems kind of sinister, maybe. But then you see it again, and you're like, oh wait, this can't be Judi Dench because this one looks small compared to her. But it turns out it's never revealed who it is, and also there's no like any, we never see their face, and there's nothing attached to that character whatsoever.
Well, no, Nando. It is revealed who she is. At least we get a name.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Because like halfway through the movie, I forget how it comes up, but it basically someone just says, like when they're talking about who kidnapped Artemis's dad, someone's like, "Oh yeah, that's Opal Cowboy," and like that's the kind of like reverence and shock and importance that statement is given in the movie. It's like it's about that level.
Oh, my God.
And what would you what's the deal with this character? Like, is this anywhere near consistent with what this character is like?
Opal Cowboy is a villain in the series, so that part's accurate.
Oh, good.
She is a pixie, so she has her own wings. And
She does have a gender.
yes, Opal Cowboy is female.
Okay, all right.
That's why I was using female pronouns the whole time.
Oh, I thought when I said she, we're like, we don't know it's a she. Whatever.
I thought you did that with something else.
Whatever. Keep going. It matters not.
After that, though, basically nothing else is the same. Opal Cowboy in the books is a brilliant inventor who has a technology company in fairy world and has invented a lot of the fairy technology. And in the second book, she plots with another character who is in this movie to take over the fairy world, replace the executive committee, basically. Partially using all the technology she built and the fact that she has secret control over it. And then after that, after she gets foiled, she is kind of disgraced and is working in secret and basically just hates Artemis and Holly because they foiled her and does some schemes. So I guess it's sort of consistent with the later versions of Opal, but the first version of Opal, which is what we're doing before anyone knows she's a villain, no, basically just a different character.
Well, she's nothing in this movie. She captures Artemis Fowl Sr. because magic, and then she calls up Artemis Fowl and is like, hey, you listen to me. Also, she shoots the hostage at the end. He has the Aculos, but she's like, time's up, buddy. I'm going to kill your dad now. And they rescue him in the nick of the time. But that was her only bargaining chip. Why the fuck did she give it up so easy?
It's a really good question. I don't know.
This movie's insane.
Remember?
It's an insane movie, and I don't understand it.
Remember when the bodyguard dies for 2 minutes? That was weird.
Yeah. I hate this movie.
I was having a really hard time squaring that. I was like, well, he definitely didn't get crushed by it in my geography of what happens. And then it was like, no, the movie's like, no, he did. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then we learned that fairies can bring people back to life. Cool.
Well, the key point is he had not yet died. Fairies can heal people.
Yeah,
because he's so
his eyes,
tough.
Diggins. He closed his eyes.
Because he's so tough, he held on just long enough that she could bring him back.
Great.
Let's call some bullshit on that.
I loved it.
So, welcome again to my corner. This is why the book scene is better.
Nails it.
I know I keep saying this. I really want to emphasize, it's not better because it's the book scene. It's better because it accomplishes the objectives of the scene, the same objectives that the movie has, way better. So I don't know why they changed it.
Awesome.
Basically, the troll is attacking. Butler tries to fight the troll, gets his shit wrecked because it's a big, strong troll. Mm-hmm. And also, he's not expecting it. It bursts through the door, and he's like, oh shit. Holly tries to fight the troll because the troll is basically an animal and was also trying to eat her. It has no concept of, I was sent in to stop the other people, so I'm not going to not stop Holly.
Right.
Holly also gets her shit wrecked, but not, deadly, just, gets knocked out, almost knocked out. And, as she's fading, she, ends up next to Butler, and she's like, well, this guy's big and tough, and we're both about to fucking die, so here's my chance, and heals him, and when he gets healed up, and, is ready for it, then he has a super badass one-on-one fist fight with the troll, which he wins. Which, again, is another demonstration of how incredibly awesome Butler is.
Damn, that's fucking badass.
So yeah, that's why it happens. It's not because she decides that everyone's friends now, and so she wants to save Butler's life. It's because they're both gonna fucking die if she doesn't.
So, again, I have another question. That's okay. Is there a troll in this movie, or book/movie? Because there's a troll in movie that shall not be named, book/movie.
Yeah, the troll's in the book. This does happen in the book.
But do we think it's there because of the series that shall not be named?
And the kids just
feels
love
awfully
trolls
similar.
these days, DJ. One of them saved cinema before. You gotta put, between the Trolls movies and the one that shall not be named, you gotta get your trolls in your movie.
I suppose.
Maybe that's what the kids want. Maybe they love trolling. I mean, trolls, man. 2020 is the year of the troll.
I don't know how much the Harry Potter book. Oh, I'm sorry, the series that may not.
That's all right.
Named,
I already did it by accident.
How much the series that must not be named influenced Eoin Colfer when he was writing the books? I mean, possibly that may have been why he decided to use a troll. The troll, as described, is a little less obviously the same design as the Harry Potter troll.
It's fine.
Than this one is, but it's still pretty similar.
Okay.
So I don't know.
How does the movie end?
Oh my god!
Which one do you want us to talk about?
I don't know. All of them, all the endings. Let's do the first one with the Oculus.
Right. So Mulch has the Oculus. By the way, Butler has a niece in this movie called Juliet, who is his sister in the books and is also 16 instead of 12 in the book. And also does things instead of being told to try the phones while the troll is attacking and then disappearing from the rest of the movie, which is what happens to her in the movie.
It's so sad. I wish she wasn't in the movie because it was like, oh yes, here is a young actress of color. Let us give her an opportunity. Just kidding.
Let's give her an opportunity to do nothing.
Give a sandwich. Yeah. She gave sandwich once.
She did give sandwich. She's a very good sandwich.
And looked
anyway,
okay.
What was I saying?
You were going to talk about the Oculus.
Right.
Yes, the Oculus.
So Mulch has the Oculus and has decided now, for no reason, that Artemis is cool and he's going to give it to him just because.
Because reasons.
Artemis has the Oculus, but Holly has told him that if any human uses the Oculus, they'll die. So he's like, oh, I have the thing, but I can't rescue my dad. Even though the reason I needed it was as ransom to give to the person who has my dad, and not to use it to rescue my dad. So I'm not sure why now I think this is a problem.
Conundrum.
But Holly is like, you know what? Much like Mulch, I have now decided I like you for no reason too. So...
No. Well, we forgot to mention, Holly does punch Artemis in the face, and that's basically how they bond.
Well, he lets her out because he's like, we've got to work together. And she's like, why? And he's like, oh, because.
Because I said so, and I'm mansplaining to you now. Do you know what mansplaining is?
And she's like, all right. And then he lets her out, and then she punches him. It's like, now we'll work together because I got my punch in.
We even, son.
What was I saying? Right. So Holly comes back and is like, I have decided I will help you for no reason. And uses the Oculus to Mr. Mistopheles, his dad, back to the mansion. And I bring up Mr. Mistopheles not just because she teleports his dad back, but also because it's that level of like how dramatic it is that the way we solve this problem. It's extremely inert. It's like the problem's just over now. Who gives a shit?
Yep. And then the other ending happens where, well, first, then Artemis takes a call or does a call or whatever, and it's the worst.
He does a call. He actively calls her.
Yeah.
How?
I mean, I guess the number that she originally used to give the ransom demands.
Shut up, DJ. Cool. Moving on.
But then he's like, you're screwed. I beat you. And she says, who do you think you are? And what does he say, Diggins?
God, I don't even fucking remember.
This is where he says that thing from the IMDb summary that's not true.
I'm a criminal prodigy.
No, yeah, it's Artemis Fowl. I'm a criminal mastermind. And you're like, what crime have you committed? You've committed 0 crimes. I guess like fairy crimes.
I guess you did that fairy kidnapping, but your fairy kidnappee has now decided that she doesn't care that you did that.
Yeah.
So... like, whatever.
Maybe surfing's a crime in Ireland. I don't know. Maybe you need a special permit to ride that dorky one-wheel thing through the forest, and he doesn't have it.
That's a good one.
But then he kind of does a crime where we go back for some godforsaken reason to Mulch Diggins in prison in this CIA
you've done
black
that more
site.
than once.
Yeah, and he's just there, and he's like, they're like, we're going to offer you a deal. And he's like, no, I'll offer you a deal. Let me go, leave the fowls alone, and I won't make them kill you, and you can pretend fairies aren't real. And they're like, why would you let you do that? And then he opens his hair, like pulls his hair back to reveal fairy ears. And you're like, well, he just told you about those. Part of the story, I'm assuming, was the part where he did the magic stuff. So what did they think he is?
Why was that a reveal?
I mean, presumably they didn't believe anything he said, even though they let him tell the whole 90-minute story.
I was going to say, why let him talk that long?
And why not check his ears then? He showed his ears, but I'm like, good, I guess, for you. Could have hit a gun back there. Would have been fine. I'm assuming they pat you down.
He does also unhinge his jaw.
Well, that too, but the ear thing is first. That he does that first. That's like, haha.
Then he unhinges his jaw, reaches in his mouth and pulls out a glowing egg.
Yes.
Yeah, like a tracky dot thingy. And then the fowls come via helicopter, They break through the top of it, the roof, this like glass ceiling.
Yeah, why is this interrogation chamber at the top floor of like whatever? It's out on sea or whatever on a rig.
I was going to say, TJ, did you forget
ceiling.
where this is?
Yeah,
it's in it's only like a 1-room big like metal rig in the middle of the Thames.
Is it in the
Why
Thames?
is there a glass ceiling? Like,
I assumed it was in the middle of the ocean.
It says when they first go there, the little thing in every American movie that tells you where you are because we don't trust people to know geography. It says Thames Estuary.
That's insane because we see them helicopter away and they're in the middle of the ocean.
Now, an estuary is where a river lets out into an ocean.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably very close to the ocean.
Yeah.
But it specifically says it's the Thames Estuary.
I would have accepted it if Artemis Fowl just dropped some C4 on the ceiling and like blew it up. It's like, all right, we got it out. But like, why is there an interrogation chamber in the middle of the ocean?
And
why
there's
isn't it in like a bunker?
And they do this, and also it looks like these are multi-room thingies, like these little buildings, because you can see little windows. But that you would assume the reason you have those is so someone can't just show up and get you from prison. Like with a helicopter, it's not like a magic helicopter. You have teleport. They just go there.
Yeah, he's doing a big thing like everything I'm about to do proves to you that magic is real. But he just opens up his jaw, which is freaky, but could, in theory, be explained away as just like a person with a really flexible jaw.
Yeah.
And then gets on a rope ladder from a helicopter and flies away. Like, none of that proves that magic is real.
Also, and this is a really interesting question I have, I don't know a lot about these like black site interrogation chamber thingies on water. I don't know how they work. I don't know how they got mulch Diggins there, but there's no like they.
Well, they loaded him in the back of a truck. Remember?
Right, exactly. And then
that's how they got him there.
And he goes there. He goes to they leave in the helicopter, and there's no urgency. They're just like, we got you. You're in the helicopter. I assume they have guys. Why don't they don't have boats or helicopters too, or at least one, just in case? Like,
or some anti-aircraft missiles
or
something.
It's like it's not like this is like a barber shop and it's secret, and it's like, well, it's an interrogation chamber, but you never notice. So even if you saw it, you'd be like, well, this isn't an interrogation chamber. So that's the security. It's like these are clearly for this. And anyone at any point with a helicopter could go in, get a guy, and leave.
I bring this up not for a comparison, really, but to make an analogy. So, the whole plot of the first book is not that Artemis wants to rescue his dad or find an Oculus or anything. He just wants a bunch of gold from the fairies.
Nice.
He is kidnapping a fairy to ransom for gold. And that's it. After he does this and like gets away with it, like foils all of their attempts to get it back, including like a big bomb they have that was supposed to kill him. He found a way around it. And so like when that happens and he is in full possession of the gold and like they don't have anything else in this standoff that they can do, they're like, well, it's fairy law that if a human ever successfully tricks us out of our gold, like, that's it. We can't, like, get it back later. And
nice.
Wow.
And so, like, that's why they don't retaliate on him. Which is, like, fine for me as, like, a weird magic rule for the weird magic people.
Right.
But they seem to have applied that logic to human law enforcement agencies.
Right.
Where it's like, guys, he broke out of the chamber. He's free to go.
And
There's
he's
nothing
a
we can do.
public figure. He's on the news. It's big news. Everybody cares about this weird guy who, like, maybe stole, like, the fancy harp and, like, the Mona Lisa or whatever. So, what does that mean? Who is this guy now? His name isn't cleared. They arrested famous criminal Mulch Diggins, who was also on the news. Who do people think that guy is?
No, you don't understand. The helicopter brought him out of the interrogation chamber. That means that we can't convict him on any crimes.
Right? The statute of limitations surrounding fowls is 1 second. If they get away with the crime even for a second, you gotta let them go.
There also seems to be some implications, speaking of the fowls, that, like, the Fowl family has done this whole protecting the fairy world, like, their whole history,
Yeah.
I guess. Which
would appear that way.
I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why. It's because this movie is terrified at the thought that anyone might think Artemis is a bad person.
Yeah.
They absolutely cannot stand the idea that anyone for a single second might think Artemis is bad, even though he is explicitly the villain of the first book. Like, that's what's fun about the first book, is that the main character is the villain who is outsmarting a bunch of basically heroic characters.
Right.
But they refuse, they are terrified of having a main character who does anything bad for any reason. So you have to change everything. His family's not criminals. They're secret fairy guardians. He's not kidnapping a fairy for gold. He's doing it to rescue his dad. He's not mean and, dispassionate towards Holly and all the other fairies. He's, whining, crying about his dad at them constantly.
Yeah.
So that they can be sympathetic. He is not allowed to be a villain in any way, shape, or form, which is his entire personality. So he's just left with nothing.
And, I understand maybe, and I understand a Hollywood executive maybe 10 years ago being like, well, I mean, we got to make this kind of more of a classic traditional hero journey thing. He's got to be nice, and it's basically the thing that can't be named, but, it's with fairies, and it's Irish, and it's legally distinct, so we can make our own theme park when this becomes huge. But,
and even more cops.
Yeah, lots of cops. And, I understand that 10 years ago, but, all people want is this now. This is Joker. This is Venom. This is Deadpool. This is, Han Solo. And all the movies are about anti-heroes. It's so popular. Why would you not think you could get away with making a movie where it's He Who Shall Not Be Named, but an anti-hero instead? Do that. We like movies. We also, you know what else? You know what the highest grossing franchise is besides Avengers, probably, if I had to take a guess, or at least it will be in a couple years? Oh, no, you know what? Wow. I've got a list of movies up now, and I had to go back to 2017 to figure this out. So you got Despicable Me, which is pretty much this if it were good, kind of. Not really, but, it does seem to want to commit to the bad guy thing. And you got the Fast and Furious movies, which are this. Criminal, but cool, and fighting good guys and bad guys and whatever. We're so cool with moral whatever. You play by whatever rules you want. Cool and tough and sneaky and bad. And we just had a Sherlock show where Sherlock was a jerk. It's totally fine. Guardians of the Galaxy. Why can't these guys... I don't... It's so popular.
And, if you're saying, well, for a kid's movie, you can't have the main character be totally villainous and unlikable, the book already has an answer for that. Because he has his mom, who's, totally out of it for sympathy points. He doesn't whine about it constantly, but there's a couple scenes where he goes to visit her, and it clearly makes him sad. He doesn't mention that to anybody, because it's not relevant to anything else he's doing, but it makes him sad. And then at the end, after he's got the gold, he gives half of it back if Holly will heal his mom. So he does a good thing at the end, where you can be well, he's not so bad.
And, the two things about this movie that are fighting with each other that are really crazy is it does seem to have a really, really strong, dedication to source material in terms of, hitting beats and maybe getting some lines and having him say his criminal mastermind right. So it's not going to completely reinvent the character so that it's a functioning movie and just, in name only resembles Artemis Fowl. But, you'd be well, I didn't like it, but I as a book fan, it wasn't a great representation of the book, but at least the movie was good. But it also doesn't want to adapt the book for a movie, because I say if you want to, be oh, who's the main, the main character's too unlikable, just make the main character Holly. And then have her meet Artemis halfway through the book, and then it's oh, wow, this kid's cool and tough and bad. And then maybe in the next one they're friends. But, you have a main character or someone in there who has the very traditional arc most movies are built around. And if you're saying this kid is the Hans Gruber of the movie, or that's what the guy says in the book, then, just figure out who the Bruce Willis is and put him in there.
I mean, it definitely is Holly, because in the book, she's not just let out, she breaks out. And, causes some havoc that Artemis hadn't planned for.
That sounds interesting.
That actually does happen.
Yeah, like, that's a movie. All these are movies. The only one that isn't a movie is the one they made, where it's like, we're going to do everything and nothing and satisfy no one. Like, I there's no way that anybody cares about this movie, because it's for nobody.
Yeah, it's a bad adaptation, so any people who read the books, like me, are going to look at it and be like, well, this has no resemblance to the thing I like. And it's a bad movie, so anyone who's not familiar will watch it and be like, why would I ever care about this?
Yeah.
I think kids would like it, because it's, like, kind of edgy and hitting some of those, like, movie that shall not be named beats. Like, is that, like, maybe
I don't think you'd recognize that, honestly, as a kid. I think it's so boring. It's so stale. Like, it doesn't have the Kid Who Shall Not Be Named, but let's say even the other thing, like X-Men, which is kind of what Kid Who Shall Not Be Named is, with like, fancy magic school where everyone has superpowers, and you know what, I'm part of the special world that I didn't know existed too. If you're going to do that, like, the world has to be cool and interesting, and you see it and you're like, wowee, if only I could fly around and whatever. Artemis doesn't do anything cool. Fairies don't do anything cool. They all just sit around. The whole movie is them standing around. It's so boring. The house is boring. The set design is bad. There's one picture someone tweeted me, and they tweeted it to the Twitter group, I think, or the Twitter, like, nitpicking pod on Twitter. And it was just like when he's watching, when Artemis Fowl finds out that his dad is arrested, or not arrested, presumed dead, and that the truth about the Fowl family is finally coming out. He's at breakfast reading, like, the paper, I guess, or whatever, and watching TV, and he sees on TV that this news report, and the TV is a small flat screen TV sitting on a small circular, like, table that you'd see, you know, like an end table in the middle of nothing. Like, it's just there. It's
your kitchen TV.
Well,
very
but
standard.
it's not.
Very
it's so
standard
not.
kitchen
Like, if you
TV.
look at it, you're like, that looks so weird. Like, because I know people that do have a kitchen TV, but it's like, it's not on a TV stand, it's not on a shelf, it's not hanging from the wall. It's just like, oh crap, he needs to be looking at something. Let's put a TV in the room. Where can we put one? Well, I guess maybe if we put a table here, he can be looking at the table. Like, it's just, there's none of the charm of the X-Men or other series that this could be like, where it seems fun to be in the world, because the world sucks. All the characters suck.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a question.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How did all the stuff about his dad come out? Did Opal, like, leak it to the media?
Oppo research.
Or was it a total coincidence that at the same time Opal kidnapped him, that a bunch of negative press came out accusing him of crimes? Because she never says she did that. There's never any implication that she did that. It's just something that happens at the same time he disappears.
Yeah, I don't know.
Furthermore, who did those crimes?
I think the implication is that he did do those crimes, but he only did them
I see.
to, like, protect fairy knowledge.
Right, or like all the artifacts are in, like, it's almost like Killmonger rescuing vibranium from prison, and like, or not prison, from a museum, and it's like, oh, they don't know that this harp is actually also a magic fairy relic, and if I don't get it, somebody else is going to get it.
Okay.
I mean, that's giving it way too much credit. The movie, this is the same thing where it's just like, he's a criminal mastermind, so I guess he does crimes.
Yeah, I think that's the implication, but if so, it is extremely poorly expressed.
Yeah. But yeah, I
like, why
guess
not,
Opal
dog?
did leak that, but it definitely made everything worse. Like, if Opal's thought process was like, I gotta get the Aculos, I'm going to steal Artemis Fowl Sr., see if he's got it, and if he doesn't have it, I'll use him as ransom so that his son can get it. That would only make things more difficult.
Yeah.
It wouldn't help him get it. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Hell of a movie.
I mean, I think it's very clear that this movie went through multiple stages of, like, what the plot was.
Yeah.
And they just kind of stitched together what they could.
Yeah, but what did we get out of it? We got Josh Gad pooping out. We finally got a movie where Josh Gad poops on and to camera. Like, butthole
that's a
view,
great
Josh Gad
point.
pooping. In fact, that may be the first movie I've ever seen, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, we'll all think about this in our heads, where someone poops directly at the camera.
I can't think of another one.
Me neither, right? So that's something. We got a star-making performance from a character that might be computer-generated. And we got a silly Judi Dench Batman voice. And we got what I honestly believe is one of the worst fight scenes I've ever seen. worst action sequence in broad daylight too, because there's bad ones where it's like it's just all in smoke and it sucks, but this one's like, man, this is like, we're gonna show it off, baby. We're gonna give him everything. Like, it's not like the fairies. It's not like someone on the production design team realized like, oh, we can't make this look good, so what we should do is have the fairies all throw smoke grenades or something. We'll do the fight in smoke. It's like, nah, just normal. It just looks normal. Also, I don't know, the movie's bad.
Oh, it's terrible. It's avoid at all costs. Even if you have Disney Plus, find other things. Watch Gargoyles.
Watch Fantastic.
Oh, hell yeah, you should watch Gargoyles.
Gargoyles is awesome.
Gargoyles is fun.
Don't watch Fantastic. We've never done Fantastic on the pod. What if that's what we do next? Because that just dropped on Disney
We
Plus.
totally did it. I'm pretty sure we did Fantastic at one
You
point.
two might have. I have never seen the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
we
a
did.
year
No,
and
you're right.
change
Nando.
ago, but we did do it.
It was a while ago, though.
People have requested it quite a few times, so it had to happen eventually. But yeah, watch anything else on Disney Channel. Watch whatever Walt and El Gruppo is. It's a documentary
What?
from 2009 about Walt Disney when the U.S. government asked Walt to be a cultural ambassador to South America. Seems interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
Watch A Wrinkle in Time, which is the movie that that Disney Plus recommends after you watch Artemis Fowl.
Of fucking course.
Is
Yeah.
also a modern adaptation of a novel for children. It has some problems, but it's way, way better than this movie. So, like, if that's the kind of thing you're in the mood for, definitely watch that over this.
Yeah,
Oprah's in A Wrinkle in Time. Watch it for Oprah.
honestly, if you want to watch this but a little bit less crappy, watch Percy Jackson. That's also on Disney Plus, and it's also not very good. But there's at least a little bit of it that I remember being like, oh, that's kind of fun.
Is also an adaptation of a book that changes pretty much everything about that book in a way that angered fans.
Yeah, everybody hates, and yeah, it's...
The author has explicitly disowned.
Yeah, he really hates it. Rick Riordan.
I don't think Ewan Colfer has said anything about this movie, but that's true of Percy Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. Guys, do you want to get to our classic segment?
I would love to get to our classic segment.
All
I don't know
right.
why I said it like that.
Let's do it,
Because
guys.
you're just so excited for the classic segment.
I really am.
It's classic segment time. DJ, do you have anything to recommend to the fine people?
I do. I have two things to recommend. So, do you want me to go light then heavy or heavy then light?
Light then heavy.
Light then
we
heavy.
need something
Blend it
fun to
together,
get our
so it's
minds
medium.
off this awful movie. So something that's like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
that'll give you a little cheer.
So, I know listeners of the pod are very familiar with my favorite game, Gloomhaven, because it's the best, and I love it.
I was
and
going to
it's
say
just-
Detroit Become Human.
And I'm sure there's people that are new to the show because this hasn't come up in a little while, but this
that's
is your
true.
favorite thing.
It really is. I love this game so much.
This is non-irony. DJ actually loves Gloomhaven.
I do, yeah. So it's one of my favorite board games. I've wrecked it like probably 1,000 times on the show before. And recently, or I guess not super recently, but I guess recently for me finding out, they released a digital version of the game. So it's Gloomhaven Digital, and it's on Steam, and it's really good. It's a very good representation of the physical game.
Oh, cool.
It does a lot of things very well.
Can you pitch Gloomhaven to our listeners?
Oh, yes,
what
thank
is
you.
it? Because honestly, I've forgotten.
So it is a tactics based board game where you're in control of some kind of hero. You're like a fighter or a wizard or a rogue, kind of like D&D style.
Or a mind thief.
Or a mind thief. You can be a little rat person mind thief. And it's a co-op game, and you're going through anywhere with 2 to 4 people, and you're crawling through a dungeon and completing missions. And this is just in the digital form. So I believe right now it's all solo. You can control multiple characters, but they are going to add a campaign. They are going to add multiplayer. So you could play with your friends during quarantine. Or just, if you can't all get together on a Friday night, but you could meet up online. I think it's going to be a really good substitute. So I played a few hours of the game. I think it's really good to the source material. I know Isaac Childress, the creator of Gloomhaven, he helped work with the digital. So, of course, it's going to be good on those merits too. So,
Wait, so if me and you played this game together, would we have to be playing the same story always?
So I'm not sure how that's going to work. If if we're playing a campaign and it's like, oh yeah, now we have to stay at this synced part of the story. It's like that for the real game, like you meet up together and you all play,
right?
Like a part of the game together. But I don't know if it's gonna be true for the like full campaign experience when they do that. That's a good question.
I would like to give it a shot. Yeah. This actually seems like fun.
Yeah, I think it's like it's in early access on Steam right now. So I think it's like $25.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Is mostly nitpicking going to stream a Gloomhaven round? Ooh.
Oh, are we perhaps?
Could.
That's what the people want.
Totally could.
I've addicted Nando to streaming for charity.
Yeah, but I've also addicted Diggins. We got to addict Diggins to playing Overwatch with me on PlayStation. Or on... Wait, was it on PlayStation? Yeah. No.
PS4 is the only thing I can currently stream on because my computer is garbage.
Yeah, so I have it for both just because I play with different people on different platforms, depending on who has what. And I'd like to play, it'd be fun to play with Diggins, and Overwatch is not as much of a competitive multiplayer shooter as people think. It could be a competitive multiplayer roll-arounder as a hamster ball. You got lots of options. I don't know, I think it's worth a shot.
Again, it's the competitive multiplayer that... makes me nervous more than the shooter.
Well, yeah,
it's
sure.
Fairly competitive.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be competitive. I mean, there's like unranked stuff, and it's a mess. And there's also like game modes where you're supposed to kind of it's supposed to be bad, but it's a good excuse if you stink. So, I don't know. Listen, I'd love to get you to play some Overwatch with me. I'd teach you. I'd be a very good Overwatch Sherpa, but also this seems good too. This Gloomhaven thing seems like probably built for streaming.
It's a barrel fun. Yeah, I could see it. You probably have to add a little like flair to it, but not to say we couldn't. But
we have to like do it in character. We could all be.
I don't know about
roots.
that. It's interesting. I've played this in person, and like there could be role playing aspects to it, but we never role play when we play. We play it like a straight tactics game. I don't know if you've had any similar experiences, Diggins.
Nando, DJ. I think you will recall when you and I played together. I was the mind taker.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're good at that stuff, though. Just like in general, like you're very good.
I took the mines.
Yeah, it's very good. So yeah, it's check it out, Gloomhaven Digital. So that's my light, and then my heavier thing, and because I would be remiss if I did not recommend this. Dave Chappelle did like
so good.
Yeah, like kind of like a special, but more about him, just kind of like talking about what's going on in the world and how like a lot of shit's just fucked up. It's called 8 minutes and 46 seconds for reasons that are either already obvious to you or will become obvious to you once you watch the special. And it's incredible. It's Dave Chappelle's a fucking masterclass. I couldn't recommend it enough. It's a half hour. It's on YouTube. He's just very good at, just breaking stuff down and talking in a way that's, digestible and good, and just, should check it out. It will not be a waste of your time. So,
and it's not funny. Like, it's not funny, but it has like a joke or two.
It is not primarily funny, but he tells jokes.
Yes, and it's great because like I can hear people like Dave Chappelle is, I would say, I don't know, it's hard to say, maybe the greatest living stand-up comedian, definitely one of them. So like the idea of being like, okay, so there's this story about everything that's been going on, protests, Black Lives Matter, and you've heard it a million times. Not like you've heard it a million times, but like a lot of the facts. But to take someone who is one of the greatest storytellers in stand-up comedy and just that art form, and say, you take all of these things and you do it, he's so effective in a way that I've seen very few people talk in a way that's not just like a big old, a normal speech, kind of what you'd expect. I've seen people doing like videos on their phone that are very, emotional or impactful in specific ways that kind of only a normal person on the street can be. And I've seen politicians, but this is something I haven't seen before talking about this. It is brilliant, and it's very like well written. It doesn't seem like doesn't seem rushed, but it's got a very, very good flow.
Yeah, I would agree with all that stuff. So give it a watch. It's definitely worth your time.
I am not generally. I have never watched much Dave Chappelle in my life, unlike Nando and DJ. But I did watch this special, and I did find it very, very much worth your time. Very moving when it wanted to be. It's really good. You should watch it.
Yeah. and then go watch Dave Chappelle's new special, but skip to about 2/3 of the way through. 'Cause it's amazing. It's so funny when he talks about Jussie Smollett and some of the other things, and some of the other stuff hasn't held up quite as well.
It's amazing when he's not talking about trans people.
It's not the best. He's getting old, and there's just boomeriness that I'm so tired of in all of my comedians. But
I can promise you, if you watch 8 minutes 46 seconds, he doesn't talk about trans people at all.
he does not.
Yeah, so it's yeah.
Anyway, very good, DJ. Diggins, do you have anything to recommend to the fine people?
I do. I recently watched a show on Hulu.
Ooh.
Yes, it's a Hulu original, in fact. It's not just on Hulu.
Oh.
It came out a few months ago, back in February, in the before times.
Ooh. I'm just going to react to that no matter what you say. Here we go. Say
Yeah,
something
I
else.
figured that one out, yeah.
Oh. Okay, sorry, I'll stop. What is it?
It is an adaptation of a movie from 2000, which I did not know until that was pointed out to me, because I've never heard of this movie, but it's relatively famous. It's called High Fidelity.
Oh.
Now, if you look up High Fidelity, what IMDb will tell you is that it's a show about a woman who decides to track down the 5 great heartbreaks of her life to figure out what went wrong. This is not, strictly speaking, accurate. That is a thing that happens in the show. It's maybe like 2 episodes out of a 10-episode season.
IMDb, you failed us so much. Nothing but failure from episode description.
Well, the thing is, that's the premise of the movie that it's based on.
Okay.
But instead of, like, stretching out that premise to 10 episodes, they, like, do it and then take the rhythms and the concept of a person who is exploring their past and trying to figure out where they have gone wrong, and, like, just kind of make their own thing out of that expands beyond the initial premise.
I see.
So it very much becomes its own show, distinct from the movie, fairly quickly. It's very funny. It's very much in like the Fleabag model of funny show about a woman with serious problems that gets very heavy about those problems, but is still for the most part funny.
Right.
So especially. I'm trying to remember the actress's name. I think it's like Divine Randolph plays one of her friends, Shanice, and she is like hysterical. She is. They work in a record shop. The main character owns a record shop, and her 2 friends are her employees. And they're all to some degree like the stereotypical snobby record shop employee who has tons of opinions about music and doesn't like to sell bad records to people and stuff like that.
Oh.
But she is the most like loud and obnoxious about it in a way that's like really entertaining.
This actress, it's Divine Joy Randolph, is Lady Reed in 2019's movie of the year, Dolomite Is My Name. She is his So okay, she's great. That movie's great.
Yeah, so she's really good. Zoe Kravitz is the main character.
Catwoman's own
Zoe Kravitz, which I think this is her first like real starring role, and she makes the most of it. She's really great. But yeah, so I'm rambling, but it's a really good show. You should check it out, especially if you've ever felt any relationship-based pain in your life. It'll be very relatable.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna knock through 3 things real quick. Uncharted 4, I played a bit of it so far. I'm very enjoying it. It was one of the free games with Steam or something. Or not free Steam, free PS4 games for a month. I'm not sure if it still is, but for a while it was.
PS Plus thing. Yeah.
Have you ever played an Uncharted game?
Yeah. I've played the first 4.
I like them.
They're like fun little platformer action games.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the modern what a platformer action game is, I think.
I think you're right, yeah. I think there's a couple of kinds of games, and I'd say Uncharted is like your base, Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn lately.
Yeah.
And all the climbing stuff in that, all the like traversal is straight out of Uncharted.
What you mean, like be on a like sheer cliff and then you're on a horizontal line that is for your fingers, and then you see another horizontal line slightly above and slightly to the left of you, and you press left and then hit X, and then your character just magnetically jumps over to it.
Exactly.
That good
like
stuff.
So good.
Yeah, I like Horizon Zero Dawn. I haven't gotten nearly as far into that as this because I think I like a more linear game. I don't know. But anyway,
Uncharted is definitely much shorter and more contained than Horizon.
and it's funny. It's like it's pretty well written.
The writing in those games is good.
Yeah.
Like,
Horizon Zero Dawn writing's incredible. The only thing that kills me is that they hide so much. I don't know if Uncharted does this. I know Horizon does. They hide so much of the good flavor and like background story behind like things you have to find and like lore stuff you have to like dig into and not on the surface. Like I get why you do that, but like if I miss a thing, I miss a huge chunk of like fun lore and it like bums me out.
Yeah.
yo, fuck the Nora though.
Oh, dude, yeah. Straight up C word.
Oh, all right.
Whoa.
I love it. Speaking of, I don't know how I can speak. Speaking of, well, I don't think it was in there, but I watched a movie or show that I mentioned before on Netflix called Dark. There are 2 seasons of it. Next season comes out this week. It's German, Stranger Things, but it's more adult. It's all about time travel, and it doesn't fall apart in the second season. And it seems like there's going to be 3 in total. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if either of you guys seen Dark.
Negative.
I haven't.
I don't want to get into it too much, but if you see 2 episodes and you don't like it, that's probably not for you. But I think most people will be kind of at least a little hooked.
Okay.
Does an adult man in Dark threaten a child for dating his daughter surrogate?
I know what you're getting at. Not in the exact same way, but some adult men do some bad stuff, but not in the way that it sounds like I'm saying it either. It's like, you know what, it's like Stranger Things is like a little cartoon movie for children that is masquerading as a horror movie, right? Like all the adults are nice and or silly little Russian stereotypes. This is like you know, what prestige TV used to be like Game of Thrones almost, where like people are cheating on people with people and stuff, and people are bad, but not everybody's bad. But it's just really, I find it really interesting. And a lot of the stuff that seems like it can't possibly come together, at least kind of does. I'm really interested to see where they go at the end of season 2. There's like a thing, and you're like, huh. But anyway, that's fun. The other thing, real quick, Hulu. Also, although I think you have to like do a subscription, you did like a trial subscription to whatever stars to watch this. I got bored the other day, so I watched a little movie called Jennifer's Body. Have either of you guys seen this movie?
No, but I'm aware of it.
It's awesome.
I've never seen it. I've heard very good things about it.
It was so funny. I really, really, really liked it. Like, I kind of thought it was trash because, and I understand this now having seen it, the trailer made it look like trash. It did not sell it as the trash that it was, because it is kind of trash. But it's really, I don't know, I had a ball.
It's the good kind of trash, where everyone knows it's trash and they're having fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody in it is great. Like, just if you don't quite get what I'm going at here with everybody's trash or it's trash and it's great, J.K. Simmons is in it casually as a teacher. He has a hook for a hand. I don't think it ever comes up. He just does.
My God.
Like, it's pretty awesome. He also has like a really goofy wig on. I think it was written by Diablo Cody. I think it was her, like, it came out after Juno, so it was like step 2 for her of like world domination. And I don't know, it just like flopped, I'd say, because of bad advertising. But yeah, I think this movie was quite fun. So yeah, Jennifer's Body, Uncharted, Dark, all very different things, but things that I have enjoyed quite a bit in this week.
Nice.
Speaking of weeks, what are we doing next week?
Is it poll time? Is there anything?
We're doing
coming
Jennifer's
out?
Body.
365 days. No.
Oh God, kill me now.
Yeah.
We could do Fast 2.
We could do another fast. That's a good
We
idea.
could do Fast 2. All right.
Although,
we'll do that.
to be fair, but you know, they keep saying the movies are going to open soon. I don't think they will, but there will be a Christopher Nolan movie coming up. So if we wanted to do like
like Inception,
something like that, yeah,
Batman. I have no desire to go to the movies. For the record. I don't care how many HEPA filters you're putting in your air ducts, AMC. I'm not about, especially when they're not mandating mask use.
Like they said they are, but like they won't. There's no 16-year-old theater employee that's going to walk up to a couple during the movie and be like, "Hey, put on your masks."
Exactly. Like, people are going to whip those things off right in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
So
while they're laughing and crying and aerosolating everything in their lungs at you. Like, yeah.
I, as a person, very much enjoy the theater experience, and it's one of the things that I do. As a person who has not been having much difficulty with quarantine, because it turns out I'm exactly as much of an introvert as I thought I was, going to the movies, like seeing a movie in a theater, is one of the things that I genuinely really miss about the before times. That being said, given the circumstances, I do not think it is responsible to go to a movie theater if they open up now. So even though I miss it, I'm not going to go right now. It's not smart.
I can't wait for Mulan
agree.
and Tenet. I can't wait for Mulan and Tenet to make a combined like $50 opening weekend.
I mean, Mulan is a weird one, and I think it will. I think it will flop, but I don't think anyone's expecting much from it. It does seem like what's his name? Christopher Nolan is like trying to will Tenet into theaters because he wants it to herald the reopening of theaters because he loves theaters so much. But like, he doesn't seem like a dumb person. I don't know too much about him as a person, but I don't do it, dude. Like, this will be embarrassing for you. Tenet will make less money than you'd expect, and if there's another spike in the U.S., you won't get blamed for it necessarily, but he won't be the hero of cinema who saved movie theaters.
I mean, like, let's be real. Like, both Mulan and Tenet are going to wind up on HBO Max and Disney Plus, respectively, a month after release. Like, I know they're saying Mulan October, but I think it's going to be sooner.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think it's dumb. However, one other thing. If you so theaters are like selling out tickets, right? Or like they're selling they're gonna be like, oh, we're only gonna allow this many people in the theater at once, right? If hopefully it's not that many people, and maybe you could just buy a theater for like $200. Wouldn't that be great? Just buy out all the seats, go see it by yourself. You'd still have to be there with masks or like probably employees and people in the hallways, so they'd probably still be at risk. But like, if you ever want to buy out a theater, this might be the time. But now, be safe, everybody. Also, we mentioned this. Thank you to everybody that was present for our stream last week, because that was a lot of fun. And
it was awesome.
It's still on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it and watch along with the National Treasure movies that are also still on YouTube, because it was very good. It was very good, but it was very good. But
the stream was very good.
It was a fun stream, and everyone's input was fun. And also, thank you to everybody that donated to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. We ended up just shy of $2,700, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really fun stream, and we raised way more money than I thought we were going to, which was a very pleasant surprise. So, yes, thank you once again to everybody who came out to that, who donated. There was not enough words to express the gratitude in our hearts.
Absolutely. Also, I want to say thank you so much to a Twitterer, someone on Twitter who I saw, Kev at Sriracha Fingers, made a couple of Scabby Dab movie posters with the word scab. Speaking of fun podcast things, those are awesome. Keep doing that, everybody. I know that one of the podcasts I listen to will frequently name the name a movie, give a movie a silly name, or not like a silly name, but call the movie what it is. Then people on the internet will make that poster with that title, right? So like Batman v Superman is like, they punch a little bit, then they're friends, and they'll put that, kind of like this. So keep doing that for us. I don't think we did that for this. What's this one called?
I think it's the same one. They punch each other, then they're friends.
A little bit, yeah. I like Milo the game, the movie, or yeah.
Artemis watches other people do things.
What's his name? Shits out first person shitting game movie where you see someone poop at the TV. It's never been done. I don't know. I don't want to say we're running out of steam, because we're not. This is great. We could do it for another 2 hours. But you guys got stuff to do. We all have catchphrases too, apparently. DJ, what's your catchphrase? Do you remember?
That's a great point, Nando.
Yeah. Diggins, what's your catchphrase?
I have a catchphrase?
Yeah.
I think someone tweeted it.
It's your catchphrase for sure. It's the thing that you say more than anything else during podcasts. Not like you say it more than you say anything else, but it's something you specifically say.
I'm sure when you say it, I'll be like, I do say that a lot.
You do.
But I can't think of it.
Not only do you say it, you like introduced it to the podcast, and it has been a thing that has been part of the Diggins like era of the podcast.
Oh, are you talking about 5-star podcast, 5-star runtime?
That's right. That is your catchphrase. Which
Boom.
is very good. And I believe mine is "In Who Are Wondering I Should Appear." And I don't even know if I did this. "In Who Are Wondering I Should Appear," some Inquisitor guy or whatever from Artemis Fowl. It's a bad movie. All right, guys. Next week we'll put up a poll. Keep your eyes out. Anybody has good suggestions? Otherwise, we'll probably do Fast 2. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. Until then, I've been at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye. We love you.